Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. It's been, I think, 2 weeks since we had our last stream, something along those lines. But we are here tonight with Tom, Brian, Sammy. Let me rearrange the order here to match the thing that's supposed to be going. But we also have Ace that will be joining us shortly. I'm not sure what the delay is, but he'll be here soon. If you guys want to do any plugs, social media, go right ahead. Starting with Brian.
I don't really coaster patcher guy on Instagram. Do a couple things, and I have a YouTube channel with a couple videos, but nothing crazy.
Sammy.
Oh god, I don't know if we're going Tom. Oh god, I'm Sammy. Built a Thrill, Instagram, YouTube. You can check me out. My name on TikTok. So, yeah, off to you, Tom.
Yeah, you can follow me at Tom's Tracks 99 on Instagram. Also, be sure to check out the Great Adventure History forums. They're back online as of a month and a half or so. There's some great new stuff coming out on there, so be sure to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. So today's stream, we're going to start off by obviously looking at the title. So the thumbnail more specifically. We have two former Great Adventure employees. I think one is definitely making himself more known than the other. Of course, it's Brian and Tom. Brian, what years did you work? 2000.
So it was 2004 to 2007 was rides, and I worked at a couple coasters.
And Tom, when did you work at the park?
I worked in rides from 2016 to 2018, so relatively recently. It was my first job. It was really fun.
So I've been sent in some pictures and whatnot from both of them. We're going to start off with Brian. Brian just wants to go through some things regarding his experience working at the park. We figured I'd kick it off with this picture of Brian operating Superman.
Yeah, me. Honestly, if I shave, I look exactly the same.
So Brian, you want me to start off with the first thing you sent me in?
Sure.
All right. That is this.
So that's a training paper. So a lot of people don't know that. Obviously, you don't not anyone gets behind the panel or even checking the train as an attendant. You go through a lot of training, and you are technically in New Jersey certified. So like legally, you can actually get into trouble if like something went wrong. So usually in March, the park will start off after you got hired. You go through a general training program just to like intro to the park. Then they have a rides training class to just go over basic safety stuff, and you have to take a test, pass it. And then you go, when you're assigned a ride, you go to that ride, and each ride has an attendant, operator, and startup for the major coasters. Otherwise, I think the flat rides, it's like attendant or startup. Attendant pretty much just checks the train and like checks the harnesses and everything. Operator, you're actually allowed to be behind the main panel and dispatch trains. And startup, if you're startup certified, that's the only one where you actually get there a little bit earlier and do some other tests and sign off that the ride is good to go in the day.
Wow. All right. Next up, we have this here.
This is one of the checklists. I think this was for attendant on Screen Machine, if I'm not mistaken. So there is a lot of stuff you need to know. I know when I took it, I think, Tom, you might be able to say, like, we had to know how many wheels were on the train. There was a lot of other, like, nuts and bolts questions that they had for us. But I think I've heard recently they took them off because they're like, why does somebody need to know how many wheels are on a train?
The only coasters, so I worked a few coasters, none as big as Screen Machine, but Skull Mountain, Harley Quinn Crazy Train, Roadrunner Railway, and the Mine Train, we never had to know anything like that. We had to know where all the different block sections were, capacity, stuff like that, but never anything like how many wheels the train had. That seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, you got to know all the blocks, how many riders per train, pretty much where all the stop buttons are, e-stop buttons are. So there's a lot of checklists, as this was an example as one of them that I still had some paperwork on. And the training, they bring you in March, then you get to your ride, and they pretty much start off with the basics of the ride. You get to learn the blocks, that usually the lift hill is one block. From the top of the lift to the first block break section, which is the mid break, that would be another block. And then you have the mid break to the final one, another block. And so some coasters can have up to 5 or 6 blocks depending on what it is. And the definition of a block is pretty much a place where the train can safely stop, and only one train can occupy that block at a time. So
we have this here.
I think that's so. This is we'll pause and keep rolling and let. So with the training, because that's actual operations every morning before people get on the ride, that has to be filled out. But so the training, you learn all the blocks, you learn about the trains. They do take you up the top of the lifts, because I know when we did the Screen Machine training, and like they had to bring everyone up to the top, and there was people that were scared of heights and only made it halfway in that, and they said, yeah, you're going to be on flat rides. Because if the ride does stop at the top of the lift, you have to go up and talk to them, or worst case, evac them off the top of the lift. And if you're scared of heights, you can't do it freaking out while you're trying to get people off the ride calmly. So that was all during training. Then they teach you how to check the train properly. You cycle the ride a few times. That one paper, it said, I think it's 20 cycles at least you have to do, but usually you do more than that. It just everyone takes turn at a position, and you learn how to do your all clear, and then you go forward that, and then you take a test. And like I said, those tests are technically NJ certified tests, that you're certified to run the ride. And this check sheet, this is the back of it. So during a daily operation, when you get there to the ride, if you're let's say a startup, you're startup certified. Superman, you got there. You actually do a perimeter walk, make sure all the gates are locked and nobody's in the restricted areas. Because usually at night everything is unlocked, and maintenance will sweep it for loose articles, and they'll do their track inspections and everything. So in the morning, you go and make sure no one's in the low points, the restricted zones. You lock the gates. You get up, turn the ride on. Superman, you had to do what's called a stop check, and you actually go and hit every e-stop. So there's one at the bottom of the lift, one at the top, one on operator panel, the attendant panel, one in the train shed, the storage shed, one on transfer track, the first brake run, holding brake, the block brakes, and you got to go. So it was nice. Every morning I got to go up Superman's lift hill, chill up there for a minute, enjoy the view, and then hit the e-stop and come back down. That's the view. Fun fact, there's 169 stairs going down that lift hill. Wow. And then, so once that check is complete, maintenance usually transfers the trains on. They do a quick check to make sure the latching works, and then you start cycling. And what you try and do, actually, you try and collide trains. It's called a block check. So you will dispatch a train, you'll stop it on the transfer track. This is Superman. Then you'll dispatch the next one, and it's got to stop on the block brakes, and which it usually does. And then you have someone go out to the holding brakes right before the transfer track on Superman. They hold an enable button. That locks those brakes. You bring the train in. The train off the block brakes will then come and stop on the holding. You dispatch that one. It should stop at the top of the lift, which it usually does. And then you bring the last train in, and you try and send it, and it won't send because the computer system is working. It won't let you collide trains. Then once you do that, every train has to be test ridden by an employee. So every morning you get to ride it. After riding it so many times, you can pick up on sounds. Like I know Screen Machine, I could tell you when it was here, bad road wheel from riding it so many times. You can hear one. It's like, oh, that one's bad. And then you're allowed to have guests on it. So this is one of the sheets during the day. You actually do tally the turnstiles. I don't think now they really have turnstiles, so I don't know how they're counting people, but we had every hour, we had to keep track of how many people were on that ride and keep it accurate. So when kids would go and spin them, well, you're just throwing off our count and making this ride seem a lot more popular than it is. This was the position sheet, if I remember correctly. So everyone, you had to keep track of where everyone was, and everyone rotated. No one was going to be stuck teching the train the whole day. You would just, like, all right, one person will be front unload. Then the next hour, you might be back unload, load. Depending if you were only attendant, well, you only kind of had those, or you could be at the front gate. At the time, we did have someone usually positioned at the front. And an example, which I kind of got from there, we also had to manually change the times. So it usually was the person at the front would, oh, our line went up. That I know now they're all positioned in line that you can kind of tell where it is. But that was how we did it back in those days. This sheet was if we ever had to do an evacuation, we had to take everyone's information just to, in case there had to be contacted or if there was a medical thing or whatever. But this was one of the evac sheets, which Superman was a very interesting ride when we had to evac it, being that like you're in a flying position. So I'm assuming a lot of people are familiar with Superman Ultimate Flight at Great Adventure, that you board it like a normal seat, then the chassis rise up where they tilt backwards. So now you're looking down and you fly like in a flying position the whole ride. Now, it's very easy to do that station, block brakes, or on the transfer track or that. So we actually have to, after the ride gets locked out, a lock goes on the on-off switch, so the ride can't be restarted. There's a crank, so we can manually pull the pins in. The chassis will slowly come back to that position. Then there's a key that goes in, and you can unlock the manual part on the harness. And then behind it, the vest lock, there's a lever you pull. And then we just pry open that, and we get a step stool when you walk out, and then we escort you to the side and take all your information. The lift evacs are a little bit more trickier because we actually have to bring a platform, has to come up, and we do one row at a time with that, and it's just a little bit more tougher with moving the platform. Setting that platform up takes a few minutes. When we do a lift evac, I know it usually took at least an hour to get everyone off the train.
That's pretty brutal.
So during the day, like especially with Superman, if there was someone, I don't know, they don't do this anymore. Even like my last 2 years, they ended these. These were exit passes. So let's say you waited 2 hours for Superman, and either your kid was too short because they missed at the front, or you were a little larger and the seat wouldn't lock. I could issue this, and it now gets you on the exit of any ride. Even, the brand new ones, there was no real, besides no Fright Fest stuff, it wasn't valid for. So, like, usually, I know from working Superman, if you didn't make Superman, it was either, all right, you can go to Bizarro, now Medusa, with, I think, row 5, the bigger seat, or Scream Machine. Pretty much anyone fit on Scream Machine. And you could give out these. Yeah. These were not, they weren't really tracked. So I know we were able to, you just help people out, whatever, especially as a kid. And usually, I know parents are always like, oh, he's just there. But there really is a safety system. Like, the harness is not going to fit you right.
Absolutely.
I know we've had parents yell at, I haven't been that yelled at, but I know one of the guys I worked with had the height stick was threatened to be shoved somewhere. And we called security and they got thrown out.
I had a similar story like that. Working Deja Vu, yeah, that's definitely a tough spot to be in when you have to tell someone that their kid isn't tall enough for the ride. I don't miss that aspect of it.
Well, the thing we used to say, because technically that's New Jersey state law. It's right at the front of the thing. New Jersey tells Great Adventure, like, New Jersey is the strictest state for ride standards. Mm-hmm. They pretty much tell the park what the heights are. So we used to tell them, like, listen, if you're not happy with the height, talk to your congressman or whatever, New Jersey legislation, and have them change it, because that's the only way. I'm like, you can go to the front and the little numbers are listed there of what the height and everything is for it.
Hey, safety first. That's what it comes down
to. Go complain to the legislation then.
Yeah, safety first. That's always going to trump everything.
The ride team mantra, I don't know if this was true back when you worked there, Brian, but they always used to tell us in general training, because before you do anything ride specific for training, you get like a general training day at Great Adventure, what it takes to work in the park, how to interact with guests, things like that, wardrobe, that kind of thing. But for rides training, department training, they'd always tell us safety is first, last, and always. Like, that's hard stop, the mantra of the department. And yeah, it's certainly like when situations like those come up where you have someone that's not tall enough to ride, You try to be empathetic and you try to offer like an exit pass where you can, but it's still a difficult spot to be in.
Yeah. Well, that's what was nice when they gave this. At least I could be like, okay, listen, I know like you waited this long. He's not tall enough. He can get on something. He's not like go on something he can, and you don't have to wait in line. Here you go. You know, this is good for anything.
Right.
But then they stopped it. I don't know if they were giving out too much or what, because I think it was my 06. I remember I was operating, and one of the other attendants, they come up and they're like, I never learned about this green thing. And I take it and I'm like, it feels thicker than normal. And I go like this and I split it in 2 pieces. Like, I guess they had one and photocopied it and tried to like, and the guy just was like, and he walked down the ramp. And I was like, you got to know they stopped using these. But it's funny how you had 2 pieces glued and I just ripped it, like peeled them apart.
They switched it. I mean, I don't know if I think they are still the same exit pass systems, but now it's kind of more on like a cardstock paper. It's really glossy. You get either a green exit pass, which I believe that is the one that gets you on any ride, not including, again, Fright Fest mazes or shows. And then red would get you on pretty much everything, excluding like Kingda Ka, Justice League, and whatever's new.
Okay.
But like, yeah, they still have an exit system, an exit
They
pass
have like
system.
these now.
Oh, is that it?
This is like one of the newer ones.
Okay, yeah, then maybe they even got rid of that.
I'm assuming they would, because it's just a nice tool. Like, all right, I know you waited. We're trying to make it better. Like here, you waited 2 hours, because I know Superman, we always had a long line, which to me, it's like the lamest ride in the park, but I'm like, all right, everyone's waiting for this. Okay.
Yep.
Well, it makes sense because look at the when you load, you know, that's what slows everything down. You got to make sure everything
but
is
I'll tell you,
safely
our crew.
harnessed.
So when I know when I worked there, I tend to say now it's not so much, but we had a good coaster enthusiast crew, and our job. So we had an hourly capacity that should be 64 trains in an hour. We came very close. We'd be running, checking trains. That was like our goal. We weren't dilly-dallying. We were moving. And like one way, if you can ever tell a Superman crew how the ride is actually set up a little bit, if you dispatch a train, the second train, if it dispatches before it hits the block brakes, the lift hill goes into a crawl and it like goes like real slow. You'll hear the anti-rollbacks that'll go thud, thud.
Yeah.
Like it goes real slow, trying to give it more time for the first train to clear. And we were like, creep. We got to get it creeping. That's what we try and just creep that train all day. And if you get really good, if it sends too quick, it'll stop at the top of the lift. As long as it doesn't go past 20 seconds, it automatically will reset. Otherwise, then you have to get maintenance to reset it. But
wow,
it was just something that if the first train hasn't cleared the blocks, it'll just automatically stop at the top. It'll sit there for up to 20 seconds. If you go past 20 seconds, then then you have to reset it. Otherwise, automatically it restarts and goes.
Right.
This year,
we tried always to try and hit that. And like I said, we were all coaster enthusiasts, and we wanted to
cool.
64 trains. Let's try and do it.
The crew for Superman this year has been excellent. I mean, they pumped those trains out. When we went up there to film POVs, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, they were just flying through. Trains were rolling nonstop. I was shocked.
Well, Justin's in charge, so of course
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, quick question. Now, you said something about a platform. You alluded to it. Now, with the platform, does it roll up, or you have to?
So in this, if you look in this photo, all the way at the very bottom, you see how there's nothing like under the track?
Yeah.
There's a gray platform there.
I see it.
You see it? So it's normally flat like this now. They'll move it up. The bottom one is adjusted like it's on a hydraulic.
Right.
You lock it into place, so now you have a floor under the row.
Right.
The silver handrails that you see, because you see how there's a red one with silver?
Yeah.
They're sectioned. So you can unhook one section so now you can walk onto the platform and unload them and then get out. Like you do one row at a time.
Yeah.
And when you finish that row, you'd lock the rail in, you'd move the platform down.
Okay.
And usually when you evac, it was always the people furthest away from the station
that makes sense.
would be first. So like top of the lift down, you'd work. And it would be, if it was on like the transfer track, it'd be the last row to the front. Like it was always furthest away from the station got unloaded first.
So first row to the 8th row. Now another question I have is how wide is it? Like the length, the width. Like I know it's pretty
tight.
wide.
You really can only fit like two people out there on the platform helping the one guest.
Oh wow. Okay.
If there was a disabled person, then the fire department has, because I'm not allowed to help someone disabled. Like the
Right.
fire department has to come and get them off the ride then.
Yeah. They
Because
harness them.
whatever the legal thing, I don't know what it was, but they said if it's someone that was disabled, we're not allowed to help them. That's the fire department and first aid squad will come and they will perform that evac.
Oh
that
wow.
person.
That's really interesting.
Something I do want to note too in this picture, it's crazy how fresh the Superman station and the whole queue looks, especially the station. Like the colors really pop on the side.
And the yellow.
Yeah.
If the sun was just like this was 2005. This was in March during the training session. Like, you know, we got to go up to the top. You can see parking lot's empty. Nobody's there. It just, I think the sun was just hitting it right.
It could be. I mean, it looks really good though in this picture.
Yeah. Oh no, this is one of my favorite. I enjoy this one. I've had it on screensaver backgrounds. This is one of my favorites.
The next up here, Brian, what is this?
This is the Superman operator panel. So this is with the operator. The left side, which is the left and in front where it's green underneath, is pretty much what you would do on a daily. The red panel is more maintenance involved in starting up the ride. So in the center, you have your screen, which has multiple screens. I just never took photos of that, but I think the one that's open now that I know there's a glare you can't see, it actually is the whole track layout. So you can see what blocks are occupied and where the trains are. There's another screen that has every seat. So when the train is in the station, you can see what's open, what's locked, and what's not. So then if you go to the left side of that, the top button is select all. So you can select all rows. And then the 2 rows of buttons there, that's each individual row. So if you just needed, row 3, I can unlock and lock just row 3. Or like I said, you just hit all rows lock. Now the bottom 4 buttons, I forgot how it goes, but I think it's unlock, latch, and lock, and I forgot the other one with it's been a while. So Superman was one of the unique, but I think Green Lantern also has it as well. So usually you have lock and unlock. Superman, though, you had a latch position in the harness. So obviously open, you can open the harness all the way. Latch, the bolts, I guess for lack of term, the bolts that actually physically lock into the chair, they would come out a little bit, so you could then pull it down. Lock position moves those bolts another inch out, and now it's not going to move at all. So train would come right before you open air gates. Everything's unlocked. It unloads. You'd hit the latch. So usually all rows latch. Everyone comes in. They board their rows. They pull down. And then when the attendant then checks a row, usually I would just follow them. Like, row 1, all right, you finished checking it, lock. Row 2, okay, you did that, check. Some people waited they checked everything, then went all rows lock. I usually went row by row. But if someone had to open a row, the attendant would step out to the unload side and be like, open row 6. You could just open that number, whatever someone had to do, and then they'd be, latch 6, and then you'd latch it, and then they'd check it, and then they'd give it all right, that one's good. And then once everything said, everything's locked, you got a green symbol on the computer there, you'd be, okay, all clear. And then the attendants would give the all clear, and the load attendant had the attendant panel, which had an e-stop, airgate button, and dispatch button. He would hold his dispatch. Then the 2 green buttons, they'd blink, and then you dispatch it and send the train out. Now, when I worked there, the operator was the only one that looks for the leg flaps. Now, again, Superman, your legs are tucked behind red leg flaps. They hold your legs in for the ride. You're really not supposed to ride with them out. It can cause problems. I know now, I've seen it, everyone, attendants, everyone, they bend down and look to see. When that was the operator's job. You watched, you made sure. If a leg was out, you had to wait until the train fully engaged the bottom of the lift, and then you'd lift stop it, and maintenance would bring the platform up, and they would adjust the foot, put it back in, and then send the train on its merry way. The red, on the red side, There's an e-stop button. There's an on button. There's a lift start, lift stop, ride stop. There's also another key that's called the attendant bypass key. So in the morning, the one where the second key is, if like it was just me that got there as a startup, I don't have someone to help me dispatch trains because no one can get there. You could put it in bypass mode, and the train will come in. It'll like lower, but it won't unlock it, and I can now dispatch the train without having that second attendant. So it was mainly for maintenance, to use that if they had to like test the ride and it's just one mechanic up there. And then there's other bypass modes. There is a mode where you can actually send the trains unlocked, but like you need 3 different keys for that. And like there's no way you'd be able to do it while people are on it.
Yeah, same with my rides, like Runaway Mine Train, like all the big coasters, like with any ride actually, regardless whether or not it's a coaster, you got to have a buddy to do all these safety checks with. With a lot of the flat rides that I worked, obviously, some of them were park originals, like the I almost called it Fantasy Fling. I know that's what a lot of us know it as, but yeah, the Roundup. Swashbuckler.
Swashbuckler.
Something like Swashbuckler doesn't have these really elaborate safety mechanisms where you can only run it where like you can't run it if someone's in the area. Like that ride is too old to have systems that would know that sort of thing. So you had to be like extra careful and really make sure you had the proper lockouts placed and that kind of thing before you were running your tests.
Yeah, and it was nice how the e-stop button that's at the top there's actually, if you press it, there's a metal piece that'll lock over and you can put your lockout right there. So this was nice. You didn't have to go all the way down to the computer room and lock the ride out at the main computer. You could do it right at the panel, and then all maintenance would put their locks on, and the supervisor had a lock too. So then when you did an evac, it was like, all right, we'll do it right here. Boom, done.
Next up, Brian. I think you can probably tell what this is, but.
So I did my last year there. I was at Ka. The only reason I got there is because I had tore my ACL because I was supposed to be a Superman again, but they said Ka, they would allow 2 sitting positions. Like I'd be at the entrance and launching trains. Superman, they're like, well, you only pretty much, because if I was a Superman, I'd still be a ride lead. And they're like, that means you're only doing 1 sitting job, and that's not really, they wanted me to do 2. So I'm like, all right, whatever. But this is the launch panel at the top booth. Pretty much you just launch trains. When I worked there, I was not a startup on this ride. I was just an operator. There's a lot of buttons on this, but you're literally the little green corner is all you worried about, because everything else was for transferring and other maintenance items. There was a lot of different warning lights on it. There was 2 overheat warnings on there. There was you can switch the switch track, because at that time when I was working there, it had the 4 stations.
I remember that vividly.
Oh yeah, and that was funny. That ride, the first hour and a half,
was that
perfect? Like it would roll trains. But then once it got warm, that ride went kooky.
What year did they switch it to the modern day version, to only the right side?
I want to say 2012. It had to be later, no? Because it ran a while for the 4 trains.
Wow. Yeah, it seemed like it was like eons ago. Wow, I can't believe it's 10 years ago. It was a little longer.
If you guys don't mind me interrupting, we did get a super chat from John Joseph Gray. John, thank you for the super chat. I don't follow sports, so this is foreign to me.
They're gonna get whooped by the Astros, and that's all you need to know.
Don't get me started about baseball. I'm so depressed about my damn Yankees. God damn it.
With that being said, we'll let Brian get back to his.
Go ahead, Brian.
But the operator, the launch panel here, it was a very easy job, because the attendants, they did all the trains, everything. Once they sent the trains out, then that was the only time you worried. Like, you had nothing to do with dispatching trains. That panel would you'd only be able to do anything really is when the train was physically out on the launch track ready to go. You could switch the switch track at the time. Let's say, like, you're looking back, the right station, it's their turn to go, but the left station's done already. Like, they had a hiccup or something, someone didn't want to ride or whatever. I can then be like, oh, left's good. All right, I'll move the switch track back over, the front switch track. All right, you guys go now. and then when you get out there, you launch. It was fun because you got a mic. We were always encouraged to talk to people, so you do like the fake countdown, start from 10 and shoot them off at 6. Or one of my favorites, if you're happy to know it, clap your hands, and usually you get them clapping while it's launching. So you had some fun with it.
That's awesome. And then the last picture we got here from Brian.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I was there when Chiller lost its barrel rolls. I know a lot heard a lot, about its incidents, and
Wow.
that was again during March when we got to do our training, and they're like, yeah, all the old track is there. They're putting the new little S bends in. And we all were taking photos, climbing on the track and everything because
Oh man, so depressing. I miss my Chiller. I mean, our Chiller, because you
This
already
is the
remember
employee
Chiller.
lot, isn't it?
Yeah, they had
Wow.
the barrel rolls part. This is just the barrel rolls that they took out, and they were switching them to the S turns for the 07 season.
Mm.
They had those track pieces were in the employee lot, the back corner.
Yeah, I
It's
recognize
one of the greatest 2 years of Six Flags Great Adventures history. Phil always alludes that, and Colin knows that very well. 2006, 2007, you can't get any better than that. Having Chiller with Kyle, with Toro, etc., Nitro, unbelievable.
Now, if you
Yeah,
guys don't mind me
good
interrupting
year.
again, we did get another super chat. Thank you, Julius Gibson, for the super chat. And the
Wow.
question is, do you think Hershey Park signed a multi-coaster deal with RMC? If so, do you think they will get the first T-Rex model? Personally, I always thought it'd be really cool if Hershey got a Twizzler-themed single rail, even if it was a Raptor like Jersey Devil. I think a red track Raptor would just be perfect for the Twizzler theme.
Makes sense.
What do you guys think?
I don't
I
see
think-
it happening because for them to go over 200 feet, that means they have to be 400 feet away from the parking lot, and they just don't have that space.
Yeah, I wonder where it would go in the park. I mean, I would want to see more on like a planning standpoint from RMC, like with the T-Rex and more like different what's the word I'm looking for? More different like concepts and different test tracks and whatnot before we talk about where a T-Rex would be going.
I don't think they do. I thought I heard rumors that they signed a 3-ride with B&M.
They did.
That's what I heard. That like there's a 10-year program here that there's going to be some more B&Ms coming to Hershey. But that's what the rumors and stuff I've heard. That with Candemonian's not the first from B&M that they signed for this whatever deal. I don't think RMC said they signed a big multi-coaster deal though.
Again, thank you for the super chat. We're going to get back to the employee discussions. Brian, anything else you want to say about this picture?
I was just saying my goodbyes, because those were a fun part of the ride, and being a coaster enthusiast to be that close, it's always fun when you get close to the rides. And I know working with them, and like at the end of the night, we get to do a track sweep, and like you look for things, you got to clean up. That's what I don't think a lot of people do realize, though. We actually clean all the garbage cans in the ride queue.
Yep. Do you ever have a trash picker, Brian? Do you also carry one of those?
We have to go and empty every trash. Oh, because there was one night I was at Scream Machine, and so security would always walk your line. They'd put your chain up, they'd come up to the station, and they said you're good.
They'd clear
And
the
then
line,
you lift, stop, start transferring trains off. And there's 4 guys and 2 girls. They come up. Oh, what the hell are you doing? Like cursing and this. I'm like, dude, the ride's closed. We're literally transferring trains off right now. I was like, no way, I want to get on again. We're like, the chain was up. Oh, but no, I came from 2 hours away. And then he goes and knocks over every garbage can in the queue line. It's like, this idiot. Like, we called security, but I don't know. At that point, security was... Usually you called security, it never got there quick. Because, like, calling for line cutters, it's like, this is a 10-minute wait.
Yeah, I find security was very... Let's say they took their time to respond to things like line jumping or people getting rowdy in the line. And normally by the time they did show up, the troublemakers were long gone. So rarely did security ever catch them.
Yeah.
They probably did it on purpose.
I've ever seen, it was loss prevention, but as Superman, I had 2 attendants, and they're about to check the train. And then the air gates open, and they close. And I'm like, because how Superman works, when the ride shuts down, the air shuts off and the gates open. So I'm like, what did we lose power? Like, I'm trying to look for codes on the panel and everything. I'm like, nothing's happening, but those air gates open. I told the one guy, I'm like, go check to see if there's an error or something back there. He comes back, oh, one of the kids turned the switch. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you can't touch that. You're not certified. You're screwing everything up. I called security. I was like, hey, I got someone to touch the panel. 45 seconds, security jeeps rolling up, everything. I couldn't believe how much security came. Loft presentation. He said, someone touched the panel? I'm like, yeah. He'll show you who it is. Oh, this kid, he got thrown out. They were like, they're not certified. That's a huge thing. They have to take the test to be able to touch it. They're like, oh, I'm like, I can't believe this is the quickest I've seen you guys show up. And he looked like he was like about to cry. Like, I think he was trying to show off because supposedly he was with like 2 other girls. My assumption was he was trying to show off and be the hot shot. Like, oh, I'm going to touch the button. And yeah, he got thrown right out. Because I know they're like, what's your parents' fault? They're like, because he was not 18, so trying to call his parents and this. And I know they took him away, and then we were able to resume operations.
Well, that's good. I'm trying to remember some of the crazier things that have happened. We had to, or something happened where we had to lift stop the mine train, and there was a woman who was claiming she was overheated waiting up there, and I tried to offer her water, and she said, "What good will water do for me?" She was overheated. Naturally, you might be thirsty. I was trying to be polite. That's one that comes off the top of my head. And then, of course, it's always fun dealing with parents with kids who aren't tall enough for certain rides, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that was always a big one.
Wow.
Other than that, the only other thing, like, there's some other good stories and stuff, but another thing that just annoyed me, but like I'm used to throw up now because some of the rides you were on, I'm sure you saw a lot of throw up as well.
Oh, dude, the roundup all the time.
But the thing that annoyed me when you're a foot away from the garbage can, it's like literally just like, you're right there.
Someone
you're gonna throw up on the side of the can, like come on.
Someone threw up on like in the middle of the roundup on the arm of the ride that raises. So like we had to even clean it up. We had to lock out the ride and close it for a good amount of time just so we could get to that area to clean it. It was
that was awful. Whenever someone threw up on the trains, you're wiping them down and I laughed because people were like, I'm not sitting in that seat. And I'm like, I'm going to tell you a secret. That is the cleanest seat right now because these trains we never cleaned them. The only time we physically actually clean the trains is if someone got sick in it or if it was a real rainy day and they're like, everyone's standing around. They're like, how about have people like Lysol the trains?
Yep.
You're standing here getting paid to do nothing. There's nobody in the park. So like I joke, I'm like, that's the cleanest seat. You know how long people have been touching that thing and you want to...
Yeah.
Like,
and of course, COVID for 2020 is the cleanest time too, because they clean it every half an hour.
Well, yeah, but
right.
I'm just
outside of that, I can hardly remember like other than really extended periods of downtime because of weather, which I rarely got in my time working at Skull Mountain. Because I think we used to joke that the only weather element that would close Skull Mountain might be acid rain, but like other than that, we were always open. The ride never closed, and so like, but even in the downtime, yeah, we do things like, like attendants might be able to go around and clean the station if there's any loose trash roaming around. We might clean the trains, but like, yeah, that was kind of rare.
Yeah, it was a rarity. And were you ever there for a power outage?
I don't think so off the top of my head.
I was there for a couple. One was because Chiller had both trains launched at the same time and took out the grid.
Oh man,
of Jackson. Another was bad. There was 2 other times I was there. It was bad storms. But
I've been there for plenty of bad storms.
With no power in the park, and people are like, you feel the tensions, and it's like, I remember there was this one older guy that was working there, and he's like, as soon as power like would go out, and if our ride was evac'd and we were clear, he would always grab a big broom and the cleanup bucket. I'm like, why do you just want to sweep first? He's like, when the mobs come, I'm funding them off. Like that's his thing. He's like, if power's off for too long, they mob.
I remember, and this was my last day when I was like scaling back my schedule. The first summer I worked there, like as school was getting back in session, one of the last days, it just absolutely downpoured on us so bad to the point where they had us shelter under the Dream Street Skyway station. It was pretty chaotic. I might have a video or a picture of it from somewhere, but that was one of the that was one of the worst weather days. And then working at the mine train was nice too, because you're just in the fort, and so if there's really bad weather, you got plenty of shelter.
Yeah, well, we always laughed like when we were in Superman and there's thunder and lightning, and it's like, all right, you're standing on this metal thing near the parking lot, so there's a good chance this is gonna get hit. And it's like sometimes we go under the station, but it was usually we just hung out in the station. And we're like, if we get hit, we get hit.
Workman's comp. That's what it's all about.
I remember one time it did get hit because when we went to turn the ride back on, it said there was a train top of the lift, bottom of the lift. Like there was the proximity sensors got all out of whack, and then maintenance was like it had to get hit, and we didn't like directly hear it or see it. Like there were some big bolts, but they're like, no, I got hit. For all these sensors to like flag that there's train, like there's I think 6 trains were on the track. It was like weird. It was like, yeah, we're gonna have to do a hard reset or whatever they had to do.
We had a recurring issue at Mine Train when I worked there of a ghost train. I don't know if you guys ever dealt with that at Superman.
No, but I did at Scream Machine.
Okay, yeah. So for those who don't know, a ghost train is effectively when the computer thinks that a train is on the track that is obviously not there. So like Mine Train always runs 2. There are 3. One sits off for maintenance or spare parts, whatever it needs. But and they kind of rotate every year. So 2 trains are on the track. Occasionally the ride would not go, and because of the block system, it would think that a train was up in the mid-course breaks near the North Star Arena, and so you couldn't send a train. And once the other train got back, you couldn't move that either. So we've had to evac because of ghost trains. Actually, that might have been what caused the lift stoppage I was talking about earlier. But that was always a fun issue, and it always it kept happening, and then I think by the middle of the summer is when maintenance decided to just close the ride for an extended period of time to give a look to it. And as far as I know, there has not been a ghost train since.
I think that's an Arrow thing because Scream Machine would get them, but it was weird because you'd have all 3 on the track, one in station, one on ready, and then the other on the brake. And then all of a sudden, because at the top it had all the brakes, so A block was the lift, B was top to the mid-course, and then mid-course to the end of the brake run was C. All of a sudden you're looking, and I'm like, all the trains are there. C, when it was all 3 trains were stacked, none of them were in blocks. All of a sudden A would light up. All right, that's weird. Then B would light up. And then C, it literally, the train, it would I'm like, it literally thinks there's a train here, and I'm like, there's no train, but somehow the computer thinks a train just went through.
What do you mean, Tom? You don't remember sending the magenta train out?
The magenta train?
You don't remember sending it out?
No, I do not.
Yeah, I think that was an Arrow thing, because I remember Scream Machine, you'd just be like, that's weird, the blocks are lighting up and there's nothing there. Okay.
Yep. You would just get stuck in the next block, and then you'd probably have to evac. Yeah, that was always fun.
I never had that it got actual stuff. It would always move. You're like, oh, it moved.
Oh.
It moved. All right, now I can dispatch. All right, we're good.
Yeah, fun times.
It was good. I really recommend anyone that if you're, because it was a high school job for me. If you're in
me too.
School, and even if you're not in Jersey, you're looking. If you have a local, another chain, Donny Park, Hershey Park, or another Six Flags or Busch Gardens, whatever, look into it. It is a great summer job. I've met a lot of friends there. One, he was my best man at my wedding. We became really good friends. Met at Scream Machine. It is a really great experience. You learn a lot about people.
Yes, this is
you said, with people with their kid and not being too tall and stuff like that. You learn people skills and how to deal with the public really well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I definitely recommend anyone that's in that high school range, whatever, to look into it. Especially now, a lot of parks are short staffed, but
it's a cool first job, definitely. I remember, especially going to the park for so many years, and then being on the other side, getting to work all these rides was one of the coolest feelings ever. And definitely so great. And you bring a lot of people skills that you learn from this job to wherever you go after. Definitely worth looking into as a job.
Oh yeah, I definitely recommend that.
So Tom, I know you sent me in some pictures, so you want to stroll through those?
Yeah, so I don't really remember in too much detail as much as Brian does from his rides, but I have some neat little employee artifacts from my time working at the park. So these are 2 different rewards that I've gotten from working. One was Ride Shining Star, the one that you see on the left. I was recognized as team member of the day. I think that's dated April 16th, 2016. So I was in Adventure Alley for my first 2 seasons, and I moved to the lakefront as well. I forget what, like, typically it's if you get like a guest compliment or something like that, or if your supervisor notices that you're going out of your way to make someone else's day better, or like doing a good job at work or whatever, they can nominate you to be the team member of the day. There's also supervisor of the day. You can get like ride crew of the day, and then on the right you see service superstar. I achieved silver status, and there are a bunch of different categories that you could get, different parameters to hit. And if you got a certain chunk of those, I believe it might have been 3, you got silver status. So I think I got like a guest compliment, team member of the day, and one other thing to get silver. And then if you got another 3, if that was the number, you would get gold. So if you see people whose badges have the little card behind it that says silver service or gold service, they did that on the right. So that was pretty fun. And then, yes, these are, I was asking you before the stream, Brian, I didn't notice it on your board. You have your certification cards, but these were mine.
Yeah, I have them.
I'm missing my 2017 one. I believe it was blue. They kind of changed the color every day, or every year, rather. I think in a few years ago, it was purple. It was pretty cool. But, yeah, you would take tests after. So going into the rides department, you take a general test just about like what it takes to run the ride safely, work at Great Adventure, that kind of thing. And you have to be tested on every ride that you work. And sometimes you have to take an attendant test, sometimes an operator test, sometimes just one test for a single ride. So actually, I have my employee badges somewhere over here, but can't find them. There they are. So the hole punches are rides that I was trained on. So in 2016, I was trained in all of Adventure Alley, which includes the Big Wheel, Fender Benders, Deja Vu, Swashbuckler, and Jolly Roger. The Adventure Alley that the employees use is different from the one you see on the map. I forget why that is, and I'm pretty sure it's changed a few times since then. But then 2018, my last year at the park, was where I had the most certifications. I had certifications on the Mine Train, Skull Mountain, Adventure Alley, some in Lakefront, and a little bit of Looney Tunes Seaport. One of the cool things about working Roadrunner Railways, it was called back then, and then also now Lil Devil, is that sometimes you manually have to pull the train back into the station if it doesn't engage with the brakes all the way. So that's a completely normal thing if you've ever seen an employee having to haul the train. Yes, you have to know how to do that. I believe it was on the test, like the safest way to do that. And then I also was trainer certified. I was a supervisor in my last year. You can see from my name tag. So being a supervisor just means that, you are helping out with the morning checks and all that kind of thing. There's a little more that goes into it beyond just being a regular ride operator. You have to know how to train people at positions. So that is a whole certification in its own. It was a really cool experience. Like I said, so many valuable people skills from working this kind of job. And it was really cool to just see what goes into running the rides.
I do have to interject briefly. We got a super chat from John Joseph Gray. Thank you again, John. How cool would it be if Great Adventure became part of the Universal parks? I think that'd be cool, but I think they'd be better suited for a different chain like SeaWorld.
Yeah, I don't know what you could do to Great Adventure to Universal it, so to speak. Like, I don't know. Like, yes, they have the superheroes, and who knows if, like, they would retain that if Universal bought it. But, like, I don't know what properties you go in on with Great Adventure to give that Universal experience, you know?
Yeah, it would have to be a SeaWorld theme. Colin alluded to it, you know. It's like Great Adventure has a lot of, Six Flags Great Adventure, the safari has a lot of animals. So, yeah, it's pretty much, they're replete with animals. So, yeah.
There's a lot of theming that has to go in. They're going to dump a lot of money if Universal bought Great Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
They're not really themed and up to par with the Universal standards. So,
right.
I don't financially. I don't know if they'd want. They're better off just build a whole nother park.
Yep.
Yeah, that is the real premium experience, because we've alluded to that throughout the whole summer. No pun intended. That is the true premium experience. No doubt about it. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, getting back to Tom's stuff. Tom, would you like me to switch to the next one?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. Forget what I even said. Yeah, so these are the 2 employee polos that I still have. The one you see on the left, the burgundy one, is kind of like the default supervisor polo. You get this one, and then in wardrobe, you could buy different colors. I think I had a green one, a black one, a pink one, and we kind of had our own informal dress code too. Like, we did like the Mean Girls on Wednesdays. Please don't kill me if I'm butchering the quote. I haven't seen the movie. It's like on Wednesdays we wear pink, whatever. So I had a pink polo that I wore on Wednesdays. And then we would do green on Fridays because that was payday. So we got to wear green for that. It was really fun. So you were able to buy the different colors there. And then on the right is the Justice League polo. I think starting with Joker, they gave out, or you could buy supervisor polos for whatever the new ride was. So I know I've seen ones for Cyborg. I didn't get to get that one, unfortunately. There's a Wonder Woman one, a Jersey Devil one. You guys have all seen those if you've gone to the park. I don't have a picture of it. I don't have it here where I'm at. But I also have the employee T-shirt for when Justice League came out. So that was part of the uniform for like the week that opened to the public. That was pretty cool. But somewhere too, I still have the rain jacket, and you were able to buy like a baseball hat if you wanted. I have that. So it's nice to. I think one year I did use this as a Halloween costume, so that was pretty funny. And then here is a picture of me in the wild operating the mine train. See my friend Bree, she was the other supervisor, so we rotated on that ride. It was really fun working there, like working the part of the first roller coaster. Yeah, not much has changed in terms of my my need to be goofy, I guess. I don't know. There I am. I look like I'm having a great time.
Between you and Brian, wow, you look totally different. Much younger, and then Brian, you look totally different without the beard.
If
that was like high school days.
Like, yeah, this picture is not really that old, like 4 or 5 years tops. But like, if I shave, I will look exactly the same.
Same as Brian. Yeah. Wow, you're right. Wow.
And then there's another one. Yep, Colin highlighted me there. This was when I worked in Adventure Alley. This is my team member days. You can see I have an orange name tag there, so I was either 16 or 17 in this picture. I forget what year it was from. But yeah, Adventure Alley, like the big wheel was kind of like our home base for that section. Obviously, it's just the biggest landmark that was there for us. Skyscreamer too, but that technically belonged to the Lakefront crew, which is why we didn't do the picture there. But yeah, those were the team members we worked with. We would all rotate between the different flat rides in the area. It was pretty cool to get a taste of working both the flat rides and the coasters.
Well, that's all I have from Tom, but thank you, Brian and Tom, for sending in all your cool stuff about operating and working at Great Adventure, because a lot of interesting stuff I didn't even know.
Oh, yeah. It's like you only see like so much going to the parks, and even like us who like know a lot of ride operators and talk to them like as we're at the park, there's just so much that goes into opening the rides beyond just like running them. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of checks because when I worked there, I did talk to a lot of maintenance, and I think the morning shift, it was like 4:30 in the morning they started, and they got there doing their – besides Ka was the only one that had pretty much a 24-hour crew. And that was one thing, at least when I was working there, the good analogy I always gave, because when Ka broke down, everyone flipped out. But Ka literally would probably run when I was there 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for like 3 months, let's say. You put your car – through that much abuse, your car is going to break down more. And usually people are like, oh, but they're like, oh, the park's only open for these hours. I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the night, maintenance takes it over. They do their checks. They're running it. They're doing stuff through the night, trying to get it, tip top for the next day. So that ride really has a pretty good maintenance crew. And I don't know if they're still to this day 24 hours, but I know when they were 24-hour maintenance on that ride.
They might be.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I learned a lot when if you ever saw something on National Geographic called Super Coasters with Ka, Drax, all of the great coasters, they show how much every nut and bolt and every lift hill has to be checked all day before the park opens. So yeah, I learned a lot from that. So I definitely show appreciations when the parks are down with the maintenance taking over.
Yeah, Ace, I have to interrupt here. I saw like a chat. I think it was directed at you. Like I meant to bring this up earlier, Colin, but we had such a nice flow going. It looks like you got a chat, Ace, from Jangles Front Bottom, whoever that is. If you want to pull that one up, Colin. Yep, there you go. We got a question for you.
You want to read it?
Yeah, it says, Ace, how many Gwazi rides did you get Monday and Tuesday? Curious because I was working Gwazi. All the BGT employees were talking about it.
Great. You know what? I told Brandon and all the family members. My godmother said it perfectly. Everybody's talking about you on all these social media platforms. Everybody loves you, so it makes you feel great, whether it's negative or positive.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Guys, with you guys, I got 39 rides. Broke all my records. I broke my 15 that I got on Tuesday, March 15, on the Iron Gwazi opening week, and I got so that was 20. What was that? That I voted so many times. 26 on the first day and then 13 on the second day. So I actually tied my record of Ka and Fury of this year. Get 26 rides in a day.
Oh,
So
jeez.
I found my dreams of conquest. So I'm very, very happy. Not because I broke Colin and Phil's 2-day record because you were there for 2 days, even though you said you did it within 12 hours. But that was my intention.
No, Ace, you didn't hear it
24
correctly.
hours.
So
We did it within the course.
right.
Can I speak, please?
When you talk about a trip, but I got.
All right. So we did it over the course of 24 hours. We didn't ride Gwazi until I want to say maybe 10 or 11 in the morning on our first day. And then
Like 10:35.
yes. And then our final rides were before the park opened the next day, before 10 a.m. And I believe I had 34 rides exactly. And you either had 32 or
32. Because we let Phil and I were like, we're gonna wait for the front and let you keep going.
Listen, let me tell you something. I probably would have did much better in March had I not been so freaking greedy and not thinking that the middle of Gwazi was pretty much as good as the front and the back almost. Like, wow. Now that's why I got my 39. I vote everywhere. Wherever I could. I didn't do too many front and back rides this time as opposed to in March, the opening week. So if I would have been at your spring conference with you and Brian and Phil and who else went there? I would have, y'all three. I would have definitely probably gotten 40 rides. I just let me stay on. I would have stayed on it. It's just the best coaster in the world. It's just nothing like it. You know, I hope you get on it soon, Tom. And
yeah,
Sam.
I was gonna say, no matter what the record is, like Colin with 34, you with 39, like riding it that amount of times is better than none. So
What?
Exactly. I'll be on it hopefully March. Cross fingers.
Right, Colin, real quick. Do you think that's impressive? What I did, it was less than 48 hours. What I did. You think that was impressive? 39 rides the way I did it, despite not having the spring conference under my belt, just doing it as a regular. Because I did have to wait. By the way, I had to fight and wait in the station queue. It wasn't easy because the station queue had like 3 or 4 cycles ahead of me. It wasn't like I could just get right on, you know. So
I mean, considering for Brian, myself, and Dad, every time we rode it, we went through the regular queue, no exit pass, BS, or any of that. We waited in the queue and waited for our lot, waited everything. So I don't know. I think what we did, I'm not like toot my own horn here, but I think what we did was pretty impressive.
No, especially because at that night ERT, it was always at least a 3-train wait because everyone was there that night. In the morning, it was a lot less, but then SeaWorld Entertainment has a re-ride rule where you can only re-ride twice and you have to get up and walk around. So like then you're like, all right, I can stay in the seat, go around that. Now I have to physically go and walk the whole queue. And that was something.
wait, Ace, did you have the pass? Because Jangles here is saying you did.
Oh,
Did you mute him, Colin?
yeah. Sorry, Ace.
I waited in a couple, and plus the crazy thing is the ADA is longer than because you got to go back. You're talking about going this way, that way. It's like almost it's a little bit longer than the regular queue when you look at it. Because I did it just to see it. So going up the regular ramp and the regular entrance, so you have to look at it. It's pretty much impressive. That's 39 rides having to go around and around. I didn't get the re-ride, so I had to go around and around. So pretty much.
Well, if you got those 39 rides using the ADA pass, that would technically invalidate it compared to Brian, myself, and Dad.
Not at all. Not at all.
Main queue every time.
Not at all. It's actually still. How many times I got on? You got on 34 times in your time. I got on. It ain't like I didn't get on. I got on it. Nobody else ghost didn't get on. I got on it. The main thing is how many rides did you get on? No matter how much or how little or whatever, I got on 39 times. The bottom line is I got on. No matter how tired I was with it, I still got on. You can't take that away. I can't take your 34 rides away either. I got on. The credit is given to
absolutely. But if you're talking records,
we got on. That's the bottom line. We got the 39.
If we're talking records, though, technically, if we are talking records, technically, I did get it in the 24-hour time period.
I won the trip. I got my 39 rides. It ain't like I got 33 and a half or 32. I got 39 rides. No matter which way you spin, I got my 39 rides in. You can't take that away.
No, absolutely. No, I'm just saying though, because you brought up the idea. You brought up the idea of records, and I mean,
Yeah,
technically,
39.
within a 24-hour time period, I was able to get
We're
34
not
rides.
talking
Brian was able to get
we're talking
32
about a
rides.
trip. We're talking about the 2-day. We're not talking technically the 2-day trip. He was there for 2 days technically. So I was there for also. I mean, for the 2 days you was at the Busch Gardens Temple. I was there for 2 days also. So I got that record of 2 days, 39 rides. You don't have
real quick. We can get back to this. Let's just like finish the employee part, and then we can go to general
The
questions.
bottom line is
It
they're
sounds
both.
like it's rambling now.
I know I'm done.
Yeah.
We're both impressed. Listen, guys, they're both impressive. Yo, any one of y'all love to have 39 rides, and no matter if it's 24 hours before. Am I right? Wouldn't y'all love to have 39 rides on Gwazi?
I'd like to have one.
I would like to have one as well.
Well, let's stop bickering and be happy that we both got great records, Colin. Let's be.
Oh no, absolutely no. I'm not bickering. I'm just saying though, like within a 24-hour time period, it was my 34 rides that wound up being the record.
Yeah,
But we'll
within
move on back to what Brian said,
39 rides
knowing that I was the one who did get the record. So where were we? We were here at the operating. Brian, you wanted to finish up?
Yeah, just some interesting stories, I guess. So I also was trained at the parachutes ride, which is fairly old, and I learned that I should have failed that test because they only trained us because that was in our section. Now I know, Tom, you said you had names. We had numbers. So our section was 240, and it consisted of Scream Machine, Space Shuttle, Superman, and then you had the Loop, which was SpongeBob, Twister, and parachutes. So like I was trained on Scream Machine and Superman, but they also trained us on the flat rides in case, oh wait, we have enough operators and attendants at the roller coaster, but we need someone to help down in the flat rides. And I remember when I got trained for parachutes, it's an interesting little ride. It's got quirks. It's old. Out of the 18 people that got trained and took the test, I was one of 3 that passed it. And found out because that ride, I don't want to curse here, but it's not fun to work. It is a pain to work, and it's just because you're running back and forth between the 2 chutes, sending, up and down.
So people were throwing the test so they didn't have to work.
Yeah, that's what I found out. They're like, I failed that. Because I was like, how did you fail it? Because I know some of the questions on there are a little, like, common sense. Like, I don't know if this question was still on there, but it was like, what do you do when the ride breaks down? A, run through the park screaming, looking for a mechanic. B, shut it down and walk away. C, call it down, tell your the actual one. And then D was something else ridiculous. And it's like, how do you fail that? You run through the park screaming for a mechanic. That's clearly the right answer. Like, yeah,
there were a couple questions that had very obvious giveaways that like one was correct and the rest were like so outlandishly ridiculous that like they're just trying to see who's paying attention.
Oh yeah, but that ride, you're just back and forth. Send one up, go, load the other one, send it, back, forth, and it's draining. Working there for an hour, and you're just running back and forth in the heat, and you really, like, yeah, you could stop and take a drink, but then, like, again, I was very theme park oriented, everything. I'm like, I don't want to hold this line up. I'm going to stop to take a drink. Now this person's waiting longer, so I would just run myself, until they're like, all right, you're done. But I was good. It would have a 45-minute wait, and I'd knock it down to a 20 by the time I was, they were like, all right, you covered your shift or, whatever it was for that. I was moving that.
Yeah, I had that same mindset too a lot of the time, just like trying to reduce like whatever I could on my end that might like hamper the line progress. Like definitely.
Yeah, there was one time I broke parachutes. I went down to help with the startup. Now, during startup, turn the ride on, you wait for all the lights to come on, and as long as the wind lights are okay, there's not high winds at the top, you can then go to each one and send it up. You don't have to put weight in it to send it up. It'll go up empty. There is a max weight of 400 pounds. So if you ever notice the ride, it comes a foot off and like pauses for a second, and then it'll go up. If it's too heavy, it'll come right down. So it kind of weighs the basket real quick, and then it'll go all the way up if it's not over 400. Mm-hmm. So you send it up once or twice, and then you have to do a ride stop. So you send it, let it go 10 feet, and hit ride stop. and I'm doing it. I hit ride stop, and a guide cable snaps, and like part of it whizzed by my head. My supervisor, who was doing the other set, is just like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I almost got whacked by a cable." And he's like, "Just slowly step away, because now you got this just guide cable, because there's 3 guide cables that kept the chute centered." And he's like, "Just step away. I'm gonna get maintenance down here." And then it was shut down for 2 weeks because they had to replace. They ended up replacing a bunch of guide cables. But I was like, I almost got whacked by a cable.
Almost got killed. That's crazy.
I don't know if I would have got killed, but it just.
It probably wouldn't have felt pretty.
Oh, no, yeah, it wouldn't have been fun.
You remember the cricket challenge on your Superman? I don't know if they still had it after the 2000s. A guy ate a cricket right in front of me and got right to the front of the ride of Superman. I don't know if you ever heard of that in the 2000s.
They were doing that during Fright Fest.
You did do that,
yeah. You were able to eat a cricket or cockroach and they give you an exit pass or whatever. That was a Fright Fest thing they did with a bunch of rides.
He ate it right in front of me, almost threw it up and ate it right down and went right to the front of the line.
I wanted to do that. I was like, wait a minute, can I eat a cockroach and you're going to put me on the front of the line to cock? Wow. Okay, let's do this.
Did you do it, Colin?
Maybe. I mean, if it was a long line for a ride, I wanted to really ride.
Swallow that son of a gun. I've done it before with some tea when I was sick one time. I ain't lying to you. There was like a bug in my freaking tea. I drank that damn thing down. So I probably would have done it. You can't, hell, those lines are 2 hours long.
Get 40 rides on Gwazi?
Say that again? 20 rides on what?
40 rides on Gwazi. Would you eat it then?
40? No, I wouldn't have to do that. I could just go down to Busch Gardens Tampa right now and get that in 2 days. I would just won't even do anything else then if that's the case. And I would validate Colin. Colin would be very happy to see me reach 40. He'd be like, oh, you did get 40 rides. You should have gotten 40.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get 40 in a time period of 24 hours like I almost did, then I'll be very impressed.
Listen,
anyways, though, we do have a question for Brian in the chat.
Doesn't matter.
Brian, you want to read it?
What do you think of ADA, Brian?
I guess just because you're a ride operator.
So when I was a ride operator with the ADA passes, when the 2004 and 2005 season, no, it was just 2004. It was like if someone came up in a wheelchair or said they were handicapped, we had to go with it because they didn't really have the system they have now because of New Jersey, whatever law, you can't question someone's disability.
That's HIPAA, yeah.
So it was like you literally in that year, 2004, I remember like, if they come up and say, or they come in wheelchair that, you just, you got to let them on. They don't choose row. So it's like, okay then. So then you kind of fit them in, usually because the fast lane, which those things were the most annoying because we didn't have a separate attendant for that. You had to deal with it, at least my first year, and that thing was a pain in the ass. That they would just come up as, I'm handicapped. They couldn't be more than 8 people. They're like, whoa, you have more than 8. This isn't happening, but 8 will be your max. And you just put them on right there. 2005, they went to a paper system and you had to go to guest relations. So then people that were used to the old system would come up, I'm handicapped. I get right on. We're like, do you have the paper? Oh, you can't question. I'm like, I'm not asking for a doctor's note. I need the note from guest relations. I'm not riding all the way down there. Like, I got my supervisor and he'll escort you there. Like, I'm not allowed to let you on without this paper. And using that paper also was, you had to write like, we have a 2-hour wait, come back in 2 hours, and then you'll get back on.
It sounds like what's there now.
They went to this paper system. They had to, but we had a lot of people that were complaining that like, before you couldn't question. I'm like, I'm not questioning you. Whatever. I need to, because how do I know you're not auditing me and now I'm going to get written up because I let somebody on, like this is park procedure now. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And that's another cool thing to talk about too. That like there are park auditors, like, and I remember like days like that where like people, like employees did catch wind of that time. Everyone would be on their best behavior. Like the rides would run faster, wait times would be shorter because they knew that, either like executives or upper management would walk around the park in regular clothes. Often like you wouldn't recognize them and they would just be looking to see what the park is like when no one's watching, so like everybody was moving efficiently. Even the people that wouldn't typically, like I'm sure you like came across team members like that, Brian, who like didn't always, let's just say they didn't give the best effort. Like even on those days, like they'd be scared into.
I don't know how to put this, but it was a lot of the exchange workers Some of them worked very hard. There was others that were like dragging teeth and like, come on, let's go check the train. Let's go. Like, try and get them moving.
It was like
about what I saw in like slowness or whatever. Like they was like, all right, come on, let's check the train. Let's go.
Yeah, I had like a few people like pretty much every like ride that I've worked. There was always like people that just for whatever reason wouldn't buy into just like helping, and it was the worst during Fright Fest. Like when the lines are like guaranteed to be awful, like it just you're almost doomed from the start when like team members don't want to buy in and like do what they can to help manage it. It's like it was tough.
Oh yeah, Fright Fest. That was one of the worst. Now, did you have like special nights during the fall?
Special nights.
During it pretty much was all 3 years. During the fall, it was always a Friday. Like Pfizer bought out the park one night. There was Muslim night. A big Muslim group rented out the park, and it was just that group got to do it on a Friday night. There was Pride night.
Yeah. Yes, I remember the grad nights. Those were particularly awful.
There was no grad night for me, but they had these. It was always, and there was a VIP night because I met Nick Cannon. There was Bruce Willis was in the park. Like there was a lot of.
I also met Bruce Willis. I also met Bruce Willis while working at Fender Benders. That's a fun story. But yeah, I like the grad nights. I remember the grad nights, and like we worked till like 2 a.m, and like. Of course, the kids always started trouble, and that's kind of where I got that whole thing from earlier, talking about how security kind of took their time to respond to all that. Like a lot of those incidences occurred during those grad nights.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't get to work a grad night, but I remember there was like 3 or 4 big nights that the park was rented out, and the group, for the most part, they were pretty well behaved. Like I was always very, like. Young and everything, and like you're used to when the ride breaks down, people flip out, and it's like I get it. You've been waiting 2 hours, the ride breaks down for a safety issue. Which anyone that goes to the park, do not push on the air gates. I'm telling you now, you push them, and it just has to go an inch. It will shut down the whole ride, and they got to reset it. Because I've called out people when I work Superman, and there'd be someone playing with it, and then the ride shut down, and I'd be like. Yeah, the ride's down. Oh, why? I'm like, well, blame the kid in the red shirt who pressed on the air gates, because now I got to wait for my manager to come and the supervisor to reset it.
Brian got no filter.
They're very safe. All the little sensors, the little slightest thing could throw it off.
Yeah, and like this almost like people getting angry or whatnot because of rules or whatever. I'm like kind of skimming the questions, and I see BK31883 asks, biggest Karen you ever dealt with while working at the park? And I'll go to this one because my biggest one does come from a height issue. So I was working Deja Vu. This was my first season, so I was 16 years old, mind you. And this woman had 2 kids. One was like absolutely tall enough to ride. Her other daughter was not. And like I went through the whole like I'm sorry you're unable to ride, and then I was trying to like the other thing they teach us to do is like try to offer up like a ride suggestion that's similar. So like we have the mini scrambler that's over near Skull Mountain. So I was talking about that. I'm like, oh, your kids would be able to ride together on the mini scrambler near Skull Mountain. And like I felt super bad because the little girl was crying. She was upset that she couldn't be on the ride. But the mom says, sorry, sweetie, the mean man is taking his job too seriously. Like that. I was kind of like stunned. It's like, whoa, this is like your daughter's safety we're talking about here. And I'm like, the mean man's taking his job too seriously. Like that was really off-putting. It's like, geez.
Wow.
Safety.
Scroll back up to the top of the chat, work our way through all the questions that were asked throughout, and we'll get down to the bottom. So
safety important.
Hello to everyone that was here. I know I didn't really do a proper introduction, but hello everyone. Thank you for being in the stream. And here's one. Did you work at the Chiller? I take it this was for Brian.
I knew people that did, but I did not. Like I said, my main ride, I was first put on Scream Machine. So the first year was Scream Machine and half Superman. Then I got put on Superman for 2005. 2006, I was a ride lead up there. Then I was supposed to come back to Superman, but then tearing an ACL, went to Ka in 07 for my last season, and then I, went on to college and got my career going and everything. This was more the high school kind of job that I did during the summer.
Do you think the stand should be like a? Huh?
Do you think the stand should be a sitting coaster like Kumba at Busch Gardens and have Batwing for the old Arrow Looper?
I think they're talking about like, do you think the stand-up coaster at Great Adventure should be like
Green
Kumba's Great
Lantern?
Adventure? I guess.
If Green Lantern was converted to a sit down, it would be one of the best coasters in the park. I still think it's really good, but the stand up aspect just makes it a little too uncomfortable. But if it was a sit down like Medusa or Kumba, obviously, it'd be really, really good. It'd be better than Medusa for sure.
Now take this. What if they put the pipeline, like the surf coaster trains on it? What do you think it would?
I don't know how confident I feel about pipeline trains. I think they're still going to hurt you somewhere. I just don't know where.
We'll find out.
But I feel at least the headbanging. You
That
got
thing is
Yeah,
gone.
you won't have any headbanging with the pipeline trains. Which
Well,
is
I
nice.
heard the good news is that the seat's going to be movable, so you'll
Yeah,
be
but
able to force us
what
to
is
the
that going to hurt then? I mean, is the bicycle seat going to stick its way up, or are your quads going to feel the pain? Like, what's
Is
going
there
to
a
hurt?
bicycle seat though? Because
There's a bicycle seat.
There is.
Yes.
Because I don't see it.
because then you could slide right out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
There's no way to do it where you don't have a bicycle seat. That's the problem with the model. And bicycle seats are not comfortable, as we all know.
Or if they can just pad the thing like nicely.
Yes, but either way, you're having something protruding up into your area, which is not very comfortable for us.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. After visiting Scarowinds and BGW this week, Six Flags should really include all the mazes / haunted houses with admission and just upcharge the flash pass. That's definitely an idea. It works really good for the Cedar Fair Park. Well, for Dorney that I've been to, so.
Would incentivize people to spend more money on the flash pass option.
Definitely.
I don't know how many people are just incentivized in general to get in the scare mazes, but I mean, they're always kind of busy anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Because I recently just went to Dark Nights at Hershey. Again, those houses you got to pay for. They were really well done. We're one of the best themed ones I've been in out of Dorney Park and Great Adventure.
Well, they're also brand new.
They did a fantastic job with their houses, and I was like, it was worth paying. And I paid for the exit pass, so we didn't have to wait in the crazy long line.
Scarowinds did a great job on their houses. You can ask your dad. Unbelievable. The paranormal. Oh man, wow! It had us
I
all.
think if they put money into it, I'm worth paying a little bit extra if it's going to be one hell of a house. So.
Yeah, it has to be a hell of a house. Yeah, it's yeah.
What is your number one bucket list park? Right now, I'd say Magic Mountain for the States. All around, though, I don't know. Maybe Energylandia, but I feel like there's other parks with more well-rounded lineups.
No, you know what? I'm not boasting or tooting my own horn. With all the 82 parks I've been to in North America, I'm done pretty much with the States. I would have to go international now. And I concur with Colin 1,000,000%, Energylandia, because the park's going to have 20 coasters by the time, hopefully, we all get there on a trip together. They have so many coasters and a lot of good ones, especially Zadra, which is their version of Iron Gwazi out in Poland. Incredible. It's such an exquisite park.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Colin on it being Magic Mountain for me. Before it became Magic Mountain, Cedar Point was the bucket list park. I finally got there as part of my big graduation trip. So that was a really cool thing to cross off my list. But yeah, next I got my eyes set on Magic Mountain. And like pretty much everything in California. I've never been to that area of the country.
Well, yeah, get ready for a blast, let me tell you, because you not only have Magic Mountain, you have Knott's too. Within an hour away. So it's a lot of credits to get. That's a great one. Yeah.
Tom, I'm sure you could craft a great trip with Ace out to California. You guys probably get a lot done.
Yeah, stuff we did. Just look at what we did the last 2 years. We carved up Cedar Point, right, Colin?
Yeah, and now you can take Tom along with you.
Listen, we carved it up like the pumpkin carving on Saturday, the 29th.
Tom keeps talking to me how much he wants to go on a trip with you, Ace.
Say that again?
Tom keeps talking to me how much he wants to go on a trip with you, Ace.
Who? Tom?
Tom
Bergeron. You remember the guy from AFV? He wants to go on a trip with you.
Well, listen. Tom would definitely have a blast at Magic Mountain because I've been going for 16 years. I've probably been there like 8 or 9 trips in my life. And I would give you a great guide, and you would just have the time of your life in Magic Mountain, get on everything a million times, especially the Great Coaster, Twisted Colossus, like 5 times, which is there, Gwazi.
All right, next up, Brian, you should really be working at Great Adventure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm applying for park president, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, why not? If
Yeah.
Great Adventure got a Giga, what would you name it?
Whoa.
Well, there's a
Goliath.
difference between what I would name it and what Six Flags would name it. I mean, Six Flags, they'll probably throw something like Titan at it.
Titan or Goliath, take your
Goliath.
pick.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Goliath is a great.
If I had a pick, I would just do something. I mean, my dad has all kinds of crazy names he likes to come up with, like the Safari Express or something weird. I don't know. The one thing I've never been good at is naming roller coasters. I've always been really bad at that, so I'm not the one to ask.
It's not easy, and I've had to do it twice. It's really not easy.
I mean, maybe name it Scream Machine.
To pay homage. Or if you don't name it Scream Machine, name it Rolling Thunder to pay homage to the great Rolling Thunder.
Yeah.
Screaming Thunder.
It's
I
not
don't know.
far from the Rolling Thunder when you look at the plot.
Machine.
The Machine,
Screaming Thunder, the
good
chiller.
American classic.
Oh, who said the Chiller? You just took the words out of my mouth. If not those two, the Chiller would be nice to pay homage. So another great coaster.
Depends on where
Batman
they
and
put
Robin, The Revenge of the Chiller.
Yeah.
it. Depends on where in the park you put it.
If you put it next to where the area near the Safari is, where they had the the Dino Island thing, the Dino thing. Yeah.
All right, next up, Megan says, "Hi, Brian."
Hi.
And from Jingle's Backtop, pretty cool that Tom and Brian worked at Great Adventure. Ace, where do you work?
Well, I work for myself, actually. I have a roofing company and a nutrition company.
Nice. Self-employed.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Wildcat. If it gets a complete retheme, what would you rename it as?
Oh, I would say since you've been going with these candy names, which is really smart. And by the way, I didn't know there was a Cocoa Coaster until yesterday, which I added to my coaster credit count. I would name it the Kit Kat.
Iron Kit Kat, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Stick with the RMC
Or
trope.
something Twizzler themed.
No, Twisted Twizzlers.
Yeah,
What is it?
Twisted Twizzlers.
Twisted Twizzlers.
That just seems like the obvious. Like,
Well,
thing they're gonna
they should
do.
go with it.
Maybe they will.
A lot of Twisted for RMCs. That would definitely that would be the quintessential RMC.
Six Flags is rides in the up and coming years. What about water slides like a water coaster, tallest drop slide, 200 feet? I think water park additions on that scale are more for like the other companies that focus exclusively on water parks, like Schlitterbahn and other stuff. Like they're the ones who really have the market of the major like crazy water park stuff. And a lot of stuff overseas too and down in the islands. They really have the water park advantage, not really the Six Flags parks anymore.
Yeah.
Did you guys enjoy working there? Because I was just there and some of the staff were pretty rude. This older guy yelled at my friend for not being quick enough. He was just trying to put the bag in.
I enjoyed working. Like I said, I was a coaster enthusiast. I was theme park enthusiast. So working there, it was like, oh, this is awesome. I get to work where I usually have fun at, you know. And, I generally wanted to be there and was happy. Again, we wanted to hit the train goals of how many trains can we get in an hour? All right, let's do it. Let's try and do that. And you get some slow people, but I wouldn't, you know, it's not my demeanor to really yell at people like that. Anyway, that guy just is probably, that's just his demeanor inside or outside of the park.
Yeah.
And from what I've been hearing, you know, morale is not the best at the park right now with the new CEO. So that probably also adds to it because my supervisors were great. Like we had a great crew the years I worked.
I think it depends for some people because, like, personally, I'm with you, Brian. Like, I generally had a great time working at the park just because, like, Great Adventure is such a personal place for me and all that. And so it was cool to be on the other side and experience what it's like to help run the place. I think for some people, though, like, I think a good chunk of the employees are enthusiasts and they really care about the park. And so they'll give 110% every day to the job. But, like, for some people, it's just a job and it pays the bills. But, like, beyond that, they don't care. So maybe that's where you get employees who don't have the best attitude, because it doesn't working there and like being there just doesn't have as much meaning. And that's fine. Like, it's not for everybody, but like, even if there were days working at the park where I had like something happened to just like, I don't know, put a wrench in the day. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say and how I'm trying to say it. But like, even if something bad, quote unquote, happened, like, I wouldn't try to let it affect like my attitude around guests, because ultimately, like, a ride operator's goal is, yes, safely run the ride, but like, you're also to help people have fun. So like, it was always best just to show up with as best an attitude you could.
All right, next up we have this theme park POVs. Ace is just curious if you want to read the question.
What is the name of your roofing and nutrition companies? Oh, well, my nutrition company is Ace Nutrition Services, and obviously it's a foregone conclusion that my roofing company is also that, Ace Roofing Services.
Ace
Very nice.
is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
You got that
Not a sponsor.
with regard to the CEO of my own company, Big Time Hardware. I like that one.
Wow. All right. Next up, we have another question for Ace. Ace, what park had the best haunted houses / mazes?
You can ask your father and Chris, of course. Well, I can't stop laughing. It was so funny. Oh man, we got to talk more about that at the pumpkin patch. The Carowinds. Wow. Let's just say that I'm not going to say the name, but basically people turn into Barbara Walters, if you know what I mean.
Wow.
You know, yeah. Your father can attest to that. It was scary for some people. They would not go first. They made me go first because they were too terrified on Friday. Actually, 8 days ago, Friday. Yeah, that's how that time flies.
Referring to multiple people?
Well, my friend, my two friends, your father and my other friend in Charlotte, North Carolina, and of course,
right. Okay.
well, people turn into Barbara Walters pretty much. You know what Barbara Walters mean? They were scary cats.
Who?
They turn into Barbara Walters. You get the joke?
No. Who's Barbara Walters?
You never watched Dateline, Colin?
No.
You know, well, we went to see the point. What happened with the Barbara Walters thing? You know what I'm talking about.
What's Barbara Walters' real name?
You just starts with a C. You know who it is.
Me?
No, CH, not CO. You know,
CH.
yeah, you know who Barbara Walters.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically that turned into Barbara Walters. Yeah, too terrified.
Oh, okay. So this. Okay, I got it.
There you go, Mr. Phil. There you go, Mr. Phil.
You know, going first, you don't get scared. That's like a little fun fact. The first person, because usually the first never gets hit. They walk in the room and you see the ghoul in the little corner, and they always hit the second person. So first you're there, you're not getting the jump scare.
They were getting out the first person. And then every time the Walters would go through, Walters would be like, oh my God, oh, I'm terrified, oh my God, oh. And then what I did was I pulled the fast one. I says, oh my God, I can't walk. I can't see, I'm blind. You know, obviously I wasn't. And then he ended up going ahead of me and scared the crap out of him because he had to take over and lead us. It was so funny.
All right, next question from Six Flags Fun. Will Six Flags Great Adventure go year-round operation like Carowinds King's Dominion under the leadership of Salim Basul? No.
I don't think it makes sense for them to do it.
The weather's too unpredictable.
Yeah.
Too many snowstorms and too much inclement days to deal with in January and February, even some of March. You saw how when Kingda Ka first opened, it was freaking snowing on, and because Great Adventure used to open the end of March. I'm sure you remember this, Brian, the end of March of 2015, and Kingda Ka was nowhere done to be opening, and it was cold, 30 degrees that day.
In March, it's the one photo I have. With the chiller ones, there's snow around the track.
Exactly, you can attest to it.
That was in March, middle of March.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. It's just too much. I would love all year operations, but it's not happening in this Northeast.
All right, next up, I rode Wonder Woman at Magic Mountain. It runs a bit faster than Jersey Devil, but more rough. Ace, you're the only one that's ridden Flight of Courage. How is it compared to Jersey Devil?
Well, I would have to say now that we have really put emphasis on the Jersey Devil, on why it is a little bumpy, because obviously half the track wasn't put on until like in 2021. Say overall, it's a hard take. Yeah, the Wonder Woman flat occurs by a little.
Does it run faster? Is it smoother, rougher? What are the
It's about
differences?
the same speed, but it's smoother and it's longer. So, and then the area where it's at, it's just spectacular. It's sensational. You'll see.
Oh, it looks like we have another guest here. Jack has made it.
Oh, wow.
Jack was originally supposed to be on the stream, but here he is. Jack, welcome.
Hello.
Wow.
I found
All right,
a
next-
room in my dorm with no internet, so I was able to join.
Okay, cool. Will Great Adventure ever see a Giga? Ace?
Yes, maybe for the 50th anniversary. I'm going to be optimistic. Let's hope it's.
If you guys are curious, you can go watch my video, which strongly implies a Giga for Great Adventure.
And maybe it would be so cool to have a unique Giga instead of the standard Giga, intimate Giga, or the standard B&M Gigas we've been seeing the last 5+ years. It'd be nice to have a two-row Giga, a two-seated row Giga. That'd be
Ace,
nice.
could you do me a favor and turn your phone sideways? That way you fill the frame completely.
I don't have a. Hold up.
Oh, your phone is incapable of that. Okay.
No, I just have it plugged up because it drains so much power.
Oh, okay.
I don't think under this CEO you're not getting a Giga.
Well,
Ace, what was your 500th credit? You can turn your phone. Yeah, thank you. What was your 500th credit?
my 500 credit at Wild Adventures was the boomerang at Wild Adventures.
How prestigious.
Yeah.
All right, next up. I can see Great Adventure will have helicopter tours. It can be put in Adventure Crossing USA like Florida does. Well, Adventure Crossing USA is not Great Adventure. That's a separate company that owns Adventure Crossing. So I'm not too sure that they would have involvement with that.
I don't think he meant as like Great Adventure be hosting it. I think he thinks that they'll have tours showing off Great Adventure from a helicopter.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think he meant.
There
They could,
is a
definitely could.
helipad in the plans, along with another water park.
I saw there was 2 helipads in the plans.
Oh, that's cool. All right, next up. Hey, Colin, what do you think of Pipeline at SeaWorld Orlando? I shared my thoughts a little earlier, but I think it has potential to be really good, or it will absolutely destroy you. I'm not too sure, but there's definitely going to be pain somewhere, and I don't know where. Question, what happened at Six Flags today? I'm going to ask you to specify which Six Flags park and what you're referring to, because I don't know.
People went on rides. Fright Fest was happening. People paid a lot of money for food.
What would you do if the ride got stuck at night? What would maintenance do, Brian?
No matter what time of day, it's the same procedures. It's like when the ride goes down on Superman, there's always a code that usually leads to whatever. It could be this, that. They do a quick analysis. Can they get the ride running within? I forgot if it's a 45-minute. They have a window gap that can you get the ride running within this time? I can't remember the exact time it is offhand. If it's a no, then it's an evac. If it's a yes, then it's like, all right, get it going, and we got to get it running again, and the employees talk to the trains until it's good to go. Whether it's daytime or night, it's the same exact procedure. Maintenance just does their thing. They under flashlight, if it's at night. Being at night doesn't change anything. So.
I just wanted to speak on that because the other night at Great Adventure, Sammy was there. On Kingda Ka, it broke down multiple times, and then it ended up coming back on. Ride was running fine. Then it broke down again, and it was before the park closed, and they just decided to close the ride, I think, probably because there was no one there, but yeah.
Yeah. Tom, if you want to read this question, it looks like it's for you.
Okay, so Tom, I was on Wonder Woman, and it would swing back, and they gave me a free flash pass, but you couldn't use it for the most popular rides, also the newest ride. Yeah, so I think if it was like between the red and green passes that they have, I think it's the red one that restricts what you can or can't ride. It was always Justice League, Kingda Ka, Justice League and Kingda Ka. You couldn't use it for because they were the two most popular ones, and then like whatever was new. So like. You couldn't use it for Cyborg when Cyborg came out. You couldn't use it for Wonder Woman when that came out. Like, generally, it's just like the really popular rides or whatever's new you couldn't use with the red one. The green one is kind of like it's like the overpowered one. Like that one you can use for anything. And even like, I think when the Safari was still Safari Off-Road Adventure, neither pass could get you onto that either. You would always have to wait unless you had Flash Pass.
Rest in peace, Barnstormer. Like, I honestly want to know what's up with it. Supposedly, it's still under construction and still looking to open this year.
I heard that they might be making some progress on it.
Okay.
I will just leave it at that.
What are some of the perks of being an employee, such as admission benefits, Flash Pass, or events?
So your benefits were you were allowed free admission into Great Adventure and Hurricane Harbor as long as you weren't working.
Yes.
Because I know whenever you went in with your ID, they had to call your supervisor and make sure it's like, was he scheduled to be working now? So then you got to go in the park. Also, you got admission into Donny Park and Hershey Park. You went to their front guest relations. You showed your working ID, and they gave you a 1-day ticket. Got to go in. There supposedly is a agreement between Hershey, Donny, and Great Adventure that all the employees, vice versa, kind of can get access to the parks. There was employee parties.
Rides parties, yeah.
Night one at Hurricane Harbor, I remember once a year, that after the park, it was like from 10 to midnight, the employees got all those slides, the wave pool, and everything.
They did a really cool Justice League rides party for us when that opened. So, I think it was the day or two before it opened to the public, they did an employee rides party. So we all got to be first to ride it. So that's cool. They do they'd flop and do different groups. One rides party was Sky Screamer, Joker, and Skull Mountain, I think. So it was pretty cool. They'd switch it up.
It was once a month. They'd open up. They'd be like, "Oh, Nitro's open tonight." Yeah. Supervisors are going to run it. Head over there after your shift and ride it a little bit. I remember the big one though was El Toro and Kingda Ka.
Wow.
Both on a rides party, but Ka was down half the party because Ka was being Ka at the time.
And they would give you food too, which was pretty cool. You'd get chicken tenders, and it was I think I forget if it was the same food that was in the park or maybe something slightly better. I wasn't sure.
No, it was the same food in the park.
Right. Yeah.
Because there was an employee cafe. I don't know if that's still even open.
It was still there when I worked there a few years ago.
And I remember always getting for $5. I got a chicken wrap with grilled chicken in it, and a bag of chips and a little soft drink. And I was like, this is great for my employee pricing.
I could attest, excuse me, guys. I know I didn't work there, but I met this guy named Vitaly, a Russian guy who was really nice. And we hung out and was coaster buddies for the whole day. And he says, let me introduce you to him. I was like, really? Oh, I went in there. I got a burger and chicken tenders for $4 back in 2001. It was so awesome. And I'm going to tell you what I did. Every time I go to Great Adventure, 3 or 4 straight years, I'll go right to the employee on the side of Superman, which is currently right where the bathroom area is at. You make a left and go right there and go eat until they started requiring you to have an ID. I used to get
that was the employee cafeteria.
When
I was there, you had to show an ID at the register.
Yeah, they did. Oh, I used to get, instead of paying $10 for chicken tenders, I would only pay $2. It was awesome. I used to just eat up. It was a smorgasbord for me.
It was significantly cheaper.
Yes, it was.
And the Flash Pass, we got no discounts on Flash Pass though.
Right, and I'm trying to think if there was anything else really substantial. You could also bring when I was there, if you were visiting Great Adventure, you could bring a +1 for free anytime you went. So that was
we didn't have that. We could buy discounted tickets for it was $10 a ticket. It was dirt cheap for a day ticket to bring somebody else.
Tom, couldn't you also go up the exit with your ID?
No, that is one that everyone thinks might be it's oh, maybe you could get an exit pass if you were there. It's no, in fact, they tell you could get in trouble. It sometimes certain supervisors don't care. but like sometimes they do, and like it's to me, it's just not worth taking the risk. But like, no, that's not a benefit.
I've seen
More if you had friends that were like, "Oh, you're working this ride. Oh, I'm coming on my day off. Will you let me up the flat pass lane?" And then be like, "Yeah, sure." You weren't supposed to do it. If you got caught, you got in a lot of trouble. But it was kind of like an employee thing among employees that they would do. But you got caught, you were in a lot of trouble though.
Yup.
Yeah, I've seen lots of employees like walk up to Flash Pass and just show their ID, and then bring like a group of 5 or 6 people with them. I'm not sure if that was supposed to happen, but
Right.
No.
no.
Now, everyone, I do want to pause and just take this time to say that if you do enjoy the streams we do, enjoy our videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. There's a pretty crazy ratio, a percentage of people not subscribed to the channel. So if you're not subscribed, press that big red button. Of course, we also have merch. I know it's a bit of a plug, but I'm wearing one right now. It's a very comfortable hoodie. It's hoodie season after all. But I just wanted to put that out there for those of you who don't know. But please subscribe, like the video, like the live stream, I should say. Back to questions. We have one for Ace again. Ace from Jingles Backtop. Ace, out of everyone on this call, who would you want to take on a trip if you could only take one?
Well, it would be wow, that's a hard one. Well, first things first, it would probably be Colin, because Colin is as you can see, Colin is more maniacal than me when it comes to the roller coasters and the credits and all that. So Colin would be first, and then second, it would be a toss-up between Tom and Brian, because Brian and Tom have showed their love and fondness of theme parks. So it'll be a coin flip between Tom and the second guy, Tom and Brian. Yeah, Colin.
Who would be in last place?
The last place one, that's a hard one. I'd probably take Sammy as number 3, and then Jack would be the last one.
Yeah, let's go.
Give Sammy, I'll
Ace,
have
is
to
there
give
any
because
reasoning
he built
behind that?
coasters. Sammy built coasters, so I have to give him that. He has definitely
Jack
love
built
to
it too, though, technically.
Well, then you would be
Jack did just as much as Sammy.
Well,
Just
kind
as
of
much, I don't know.
Almost.
built those coasters, so it's hard to go back on that. You know.
What
so,
about my dad? Where would you place him in the rankings?
that's actually a toss-up between you and your dad, because you said on here. But if you're talking about what your dad included, that'd be between you and your dad. Because I know how much your dad and yourself love coasters, perhaps more than I do. So it's pretty tough.
What about Chris?
Well, if Chris was on there, wow, that would easily be dead last. That would definitely be dead last. Bob would be up there. Bob is enthusiastic and fun. Bob is definitely the life of the party, just like at Costa Mania. He was the one that turned everybody's sandiness into positivity, because Bob has an IDAGF, you know what I mean? I don't attitude, a good attitude. You know,
Wow.
Jack, you don't
IDGAF.
have to
You know
worry
what I mean?
about being in last.
Huh?
See, Jack, you don't have to worry about being in last.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob is cool. That would be a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
What
we should go
about
on a
John
trip.
and Brian Gray?
John, you know what? John and the Gray brothers, John and Brian, they would definitely be in the Chris category. You know, all 3 of them be equal. You know, that would be definite. You know, so I could see them, you know, being at the bottom of the barrel of you guys.
Who do you normally go on your trips with, Ace?
Well, I sometimes have Brandon may go. I go by myself and meet you guys, or I may meet some friends like in Florida or North Carolina. You know, I have friends all around the country, coaster buddies that I've met. I met some new coaster buddies that can attest to me maniacally riding Iron Gwazi a whole lot of times. That told me.
Did
they
you
live
have a friend in the
Florida.
Carolinas too that you had fun with?
What happened?
Didn't you have a friend in the Carolinas too that you had fun with?
Yeah, he used to go to Carowinds all the time. He had a bad heart, and then now he's been cleared to be able to get back on the roller coasters. He had a bad heart. He had open heart surgery. I'm sure your father told you the story. He was, you know, we all spoke about it.
Yeah.
So I was happy that he got on one of his first rides on Fury, because he did return back to Carowinds back in the summer, and then ultimately did his first horror nights with us, and in like many years. So it's pretty cool.
Ace, who was your friend that you were with at Thrillathon this year?
You said the friend I was with at Thrillathon? Oh, I haven't
Yeah.
heard from him in a long time. You know, hopefully he's okay. You're talking about Cedric?
No, what was his name, Colin?
No, not Cedric. You're talking about Dang, it's been such a long time that we spoke. He kind of resembles Brandon.
Walter?
His name was like Morgan or something.
Oh, Walter.
Kobe. Oh, Kobe was one of them that looked like
No,
Brandon.
Walter.
Walter,
I,
yeah.
I didn't really I don't know if y'all got his number or anything like that. I was so exhausted, I wasn't even interested in exchanging numbers or social media. I
No,
was just.
Ace. What about Walter?
What do you mean?
Walter.
What about Walter?
At Thrillathon, Walter.
He was cool, but not at your level, you know.
Man,
He
you
was
are just
kind of
dissing
he wasn't as funny as you guys. He didn't have the energy that you guys have. I didn't see the enthusiasm. There's a huge enthusiasm gap between you guys and Walter. I mean,
Oh.
oh, Walter. Oh, you're talking about Walters. Oh no,
No, not Barbara Walters. Walter.
No.
no, it's Harold. His name is Harold, not Walter.
Oh,
Oh.
right.
He did look like a Walter. His name is Harold. Yeah, Harold was cool, but you know, he didn't have the same energy that we had. He was more like Jeb Bush, like you know how Trump called him. Which
All
is
right,
funny.
enough of that. How about Barbara Walters?
Uh, that's the same level as you know who. I'm not gonna say no name because you don't want me talking about that. But that's the
Well,
same level as Boring Guy and also excuse me, Harold. They're the same level. They don't have much energy when they speak.
okay.
Pretty low
You have like
energy.
a certain speed that people need to move at in order
No,
for you to
not at
enjoy it.
all. It's just like when you're talking, they're like the T1000. They're like this, like the whole time. You know, no pun intended. But they're like really, really like stoic, statuesque. That, which is pretty well, and it's going to be impressive if he was in acting class or something like that. You know, but
Now,
yeah,
Ace, I have a question for you personally. I've just always wondered this myself personally.
right.
Do you have a list of like your favorite words? It's very clear to me that you have a very advanced vocabulary compared to most other people. Which of
Mhm.
the words that you frequent are your favorite words?
Well, if we're talking about, let's say we're watching a horror movie, right, or any other things, you know, based on ghosts, I love the word apparition. Apparition is one of my favorite words, especially during Halloween time. You know, there's a lot of.
No, I'm talking like words you use typically in your regular vocabulary, like you use frequently, that are more advanced than most people's.
Well, anticipation is one of my favorites. Anticipate.
I
I
use
anticipate,
anticipation.
yeah, I anticipate great adventures
No,
against
like what about like concur? What's another one? Top out here.
adroit,
Uh,
reprehensible, allude,
That's one.
exquisite,
There you go.
abridge. You know, you don't want to hear that with a roller coaster. They shorten a roller coaster. Nobody wants to hear about abridging when it comes to a roller coaster. That's for sure. You know, these are a lot of words I learned in high school, by the way, that I've been fond of. You know,
Huh?
I have to give my teacher a lot of credit. That's all we did was learn new vocabulary words.
Who was your teacher?
A doctor, well, he turned into a doctor, which was pretty cool. Dr. Kornblum was one of my English teachers. It was funny because the spin on it was that he stuttered. You're teaching you, he stuttered, but he did have an extended vocabulary. He's very articulate. I have to give it to him. He stuttered as an English teacher, which was funny.
Let's take a look. Okay, next question. Sammy, when will Shadow Stalker open?
Wow.
So me and Jack were literally talking about this like what 2 days ago. I think we're still in definitely early spring, thinking like early May. We were talking though. Let's take this with a grain of salt because nothing's like confirmed or not. We're looking to do some kind of panel maybe around like IAPA time just to kind of show some things off. Maybe a couple people will come in. If not, we'll do it live stream. Maybe we'll do both. I don't know exactly, but we're looking at a couple different things. But electrical started the other day, and the car is now on the track. We have Jack, if you want to take over and say anything.
Yeah, I mean, the car is, we basically just put it on the track so we can see how it rolls. But it's coming off some point this week. to get upstops put on it so we can put the steel on the track, which is going to be ordered hopefully by the end of the month. And
Cross fingers, please.
yeah, I would hope that the track work could get done in November.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. But I think we're gonna do some kind of panel, so we'll invite a couple people over and check out the car and the construction and stuff. And we'll see if we're testing by then. So, yeah.
Ace, I think you misphrased when you were talking about Brian. Brian, just can you clarify to Brian?
In regards to what?
Because you said that him and John would be at the bottom.
Well, basically, we're talking about. I have to go with the single eliminator, and that's time. No, that's time.
No, I think what Ace is saying, he doesn't really go on trips with many people. He loves hanging out with everyone, though. Don't get that wrong. He loves hanging out with everyone.
Yeah, that's number one, and number two is
Believe me, personally, I don't even think I would go on a trip with Ace. So,
well, we haven't gone on a trip, but we've met, so which is great. We met at Cedar Point, we met at Kings Island, a handful of parks. I met your dad at Carowinds, of course. So we've met at a lot of parks so far, and
Definitely.
it has to go when we have to do the tiebreaker. Obviously, that's going to be with the time I've known you guys, so that's why y'all are at the top, you and your dad. I've known y'all longer than Brian and Tom and Jack and Sam and the Gray brothers and anybody else that hangs with the crew, us crew. So that's
All right.
that's what I use. I use that formula as a tiebreaker.
All right, next up, we already asked what the name of his roofing and companies are. Ace, do you own Ace Mason Studios by any chance?
I'm the CEO. It's my
Of
company.
Ace Mason Studios?
Yeah, that's me.
Because Ace Mason Studios is in the chat. Is that you?
Say that again.
Ace Mason Studios is in the chat. Is that you?
No, I don't have no studios.
Because they're claiming that they own Ace Roofing Service.
Oh no, you have Hollywood Studios. No, I don't have. There's no Ace Mason Studios.
But you just said you're in charge of it.
No, Ace Roofing.
What's the biggest building you've put a roof on?
Say that again.
What's the
Not
biggest
house-
building
no,
that you?
I don't do big, I just do houses basically. A lot of
Well, what's
houses.
the most significant house you've put a roof on?
I mean, I do basic services. I don't like put complete roofs. I do basic services. You know,
What kind of basic services?
a lot of flashing. You know, patching up holes. You know, basic stuff like that. Simple things.
Do you own any other companies?
No. It's just
Just
like
you-
how you run Hollywood Studios. Very simple.
Do you
Now,
have
are
a
these companies
website?
actually like trademarked, or do they have any sort of like official verification?
No, I have business cards. I don't have any. I don't have any.
Oh, you have business
Wow.
cards. You'll have to give me one next
I have
time.
business cards. Yeah, I have business cards.
Do you have one with you that you could?
No, I don't have.
advertise?
No, I don't have that now. I'm not prepared for that. I'll show you when I see y'all in person.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have that now.
Let's see. Next question would be: has anyone rode Son of Beast with the loop? I don't think anyone here has even ridden Son of Beast.
Unfortunately, I didn't become I've always been a coast enthusiast since I was like 6 or 7 when I was getting on the Cyclone and the Dragon and obviously my New York City area. However, I didn't really start doing these road trips as we do it now, as we know, until 2015. I didn't get that. I mean, that's the year that I got to see Thailand. So I missed it by like 6 or 7 years. You know, it would have been nice to have done it. I really wanted to do it, just like the Beast. But unfortunately, I got there too late. You know, I missed it. I came close, but no cigar. It's too far out on that time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hello, Rob. All right, from Brian. So John and I are planning on going to Busch Gardens, Tampa in January. With that being said, what ride should we ride first?
Cheetah.
Probably Cheetah Hunt because Gwazi needs some time to warm up.
Well-
Cheetah Hunt tends to get a pretty brutal line.
Yeah, the line on Cheetah Hunt. You want to knock that out.
Well, you know what? I refute that. Let me tell you how you can negate that. The long Cheetah Hunt lines. What you could do is you can go there in the middle of the week like I did. Go there on a Tuesday and do not go there on a weekend. And if you do that, do Iron Gwazi first because let me tell you, I can attest to this. Iron Gwazi was running like lightning speed when I first got on on Monday and Tuesday. It was pretty fast. And Cheetah Hunt's line wasn't that bad. Cheetah Hunt was dead, actually. The park was dead on Tuesday when I went. Of course, my last day. So, if you go on a weekend, obviously do Cheetah Hunt first. But if you're going on the weekdays, you could do Gwazi first because you got to knock that out. Get a
Ace,
few
I'm going to Busch Gardens, Tampa, and SeaWorld in December. Do you have any tips?
Yes. Are you going on the weekdays?
Yeah, those will be weekdays.
And also look online to see if there's going to be any roller coaster maintenance because they like to start doing maintenance in November. Because I lost Cheetah Hunt last year when I did my Velocicoaster Universal Studios trip. So it was closed. So make sure you do your research and check what's going to be under maintenance. That's the only downside.
Last winter when I went to SeaWorld Orlando, Kraken was closed.
I'm telling you, it's just so thorough, atrocious when they do that.
It was being painted for like.
That's why I stopped going in January and February because back in the harsh, cold winters of the New York City area, which includes New Jersey, from 2013 to 2000.
I just gotta kick Ace out for a second. Brian, welcome to the stream.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Doing all right.
We're just gonna have to rotate people in and out because the stream only allows for a max of 6 people.
Right.
Okay.
So basically, I was alluding to the fact that giving advice on, of course, what to do and how to take care of the trip of Busch Gardens Tampa. And I was telling Jack, that there's a lot of roller coasters undergoing maintenance during the winter months. So that's why I stopped going in January, February, because you're going to eventually lose out on Montu. The big coasters, Montu, Cheetah Hunt, or Gwazi, or even thereafter, Shikra. So it's terrible. It's painful to have to give up those.
Ace, I actually have had some bad luck with ride closures. I've been on to Knott's Berry Farm 3 separate trips, and all in April, and Accelerator has been closed every time.
Yes, Accelerator has been closed for a long time.
Yeah.
I even lost Accelerator the last trip that I took in August, and that was painstaking. So yeah, they I guess they're doing a huge project on it.
Now it's been 5 years since the first time I went to Knott's, and it's been closed every time.
It's terrible. It flip-flopped me. It was hang time when I went in October, the same exact day as we're speaking right now. And then, of course, hang time was open when I went in August, and Accelerator was closed, just like you when you went. So it's just crazy. And of course, the another coaster was closed too. There was a couple coasters that we're doing a rehab on the flywheel launch coaster.
Oh, Montezuma, yeah.
Montezuma.
I got to ride that, but then it was closed the last time I went because it's doing this big reverb.
They're working on that refurbishment. Yeah, that's terrible when you have to endure a ride closure. So I can attest to those are painful. Going so far and you have to end up, taking that. That's terrible. So John and I are planning on going to Busch Gardens Tampa in January.
You just did that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a nice slide.
What is that?
Wow.
I think this is the new Disney movie coming out.
Yeah, so I was informed that there's a new movie in the works based off of Ace himself by Disney called Ace.
Is it really?
I Am Ace. The story of Ace Mason, but
What does ACE stand
ACE
for? Because in the poster it looks like it says ACE. So what does ACE stand for?
I think it's like the movie is like trying to find the true meaning of Ace.
Wow.
Yeah, Ace. What does your name stand for?
Well, you know what, Colin, I'm gonna put you off to this. How about you go on a project and I'm gonna give you a report. Do a book report on it. Read about Ace and then put it together and tell me what you
Why
get.
do that when we can just watch the movie coming out?
Yeah, the movie's always better than the book.
Wow. Just like the Harry Potter books. You read the books and you saw the movie, you're like, wow, so much more information than in the movie.
Okay, so what I'm gonna have to do, Brian, meaning Brian Gray, where you can only have 6 people, so is there anything you want to say to the stream before we let you out?
Nothing real. I just wanted to see you guys. Hey,
Oh, thank you.
I talked to you guys. I haven't talked to you guys in a while.
Yeah,
Well, it was
good
great
seeing
to see
you,
you,
man.
Brian. Hopefully we'll see
Nice
you at
to see you,
Great
Brian.
Adventures.
Yeah, no
Take care.
worries.
Yep.
I'm about
All
to
right.
go do.
Hi, Brian.
Night,
All right,
guys.
bro. Yeah. Good
All right.
night.
See you, Brian. All right. Let's see. Where were we here? Oh, a question for Jack. Jack, is Sammy a good boss?
I mean, it depends on what you would call a good boss. I mean,
I'm assuming Sammy doesn't fit the quota.
well,
I mean, I'm not really a boss, but
I mean, well, I'd say Sammy. He probably it would be considered a boss, but normally bosses would pay people. But
yeah,
but the problem is there's like no money for the roller coaster, so all the money has to go into buying all the materials. So we can't pay the
unfortunately.
yeah. Like I'm sure Sammy would
If
love
I
to
could
take his
pay,
own.
if I could
his
pay
own
Jack, I
paycheck.
would, and if I could pay myself, I would. But unfortunately,
Yeah,
Well,
there's
I don't
no,
think it's
like-
possible for one to pay themselves.
Well, exactly. That's the problem.
yeah. It's unfortunate, but
Well, Jack, I'm sure you at
coasters
least
come-
get like free lunch or whatever.
sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Depends on the day.
All right, next up from Brandon James Shia. Any news on El Toro and what happened to Green Lantern? I didn't hear about anything happening to Green Lantern. I wrote it recently, filmed POVs on it with park permission. As far as I know, Green Lantern's fine, and El Toro is undergoing some repairs and should be open for the 2023 season. If anyone has any defunct credits, what is everyone's? Whoa, Jack! Oh, there you are. Okay. Let's see. If anyone has any defunct credits, what is everyone's favorite defunct credit?
I can start with this one. That's very, very easy. And I'm sure Brian, if you ever got on it, can attest to this one. That is absolutely the chiller.
Chilla.
Yeah.
Tom?
I've been on Chiller, but I don't know if that was my all-time favorite defunct one. I've been on a few now gone coasters. I gotta give a minute to think about that.
Yeah, same for me. And I'm like pulling up the list of everything I've written. Just
Yeah, I
to,
probably
like,
have to pull up my
see.
list as well. I don't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately.
Well, here we go. My defunct credits are Flitzer and Tornado from Jenkinson's, Rolling Thunder, both sides from Great Adventure, and Wildcat now at Hershey. I guess it would go to Rolling Thunder. I don't know. It's not really a stellar lineup there.
Yeah, I've been on a bunch. I think Rolling Thunder, though, kind of takes the cake. Just like in general, I was like, it was a great coaster, and it meant a lot because it was like one of my first. So
Okay, so I actually have a ton of defunct credits. According to this, I have 13. I have Goliath at New England. I have both sides of Rolling Thunder. I have Apocalypse rather at America, which is not really defunct, but technically. I have Black Stallion, which is now a defunct credit. Flitzer at Morris Piers.
Good one.
Vortex at Kings Island. Firehawk at Kings Island. Tornado at Jenkinson's. Stinger at Dorney. Primeval World, both sides at Disney. Wicked Twister at Cedar Point. And that's it. Out of those, I'd probably go with Firehawk as being my favorite. Maybe
really
Wicked
not
Twister.
Black Stallion.
I mean, Black Stallion's good, but Firehawk is just better. I'm sorry.
Came pretty close though.
I don't know about that one. Jack, up. Jack's.
Oh, I'm here. I'm just looking at my list of credits.
Oh, okay.
So my defunct credits are a bunch of the Jersey Boardwalk coasters, like Tornado at Jenkinson's. There's a bunch of old ones that used to be at Jillian's Wonderland. Probably one of my favorites, defunct, was the Runaway Train that used to be there. And then Castaway Cove had like a Flitzer, and there was a looping star called Python there. So I went on that. Also, there's Rollies Coaster at Maurice Piers. The Primeval World clones at Disney.
Wait. Did you say Rollies Coaster at Maury's?
Yes.
That's operating.
Rollies Coaster?
Yeah.
Oh, did it come back?
It never went away, I don't think. Maybe it got... No, I don't think it got relocated.
I must have had that marked off wrong or something for some reason. I don't know. Because...
No, they just filmed on it over the summer.
Oh, wow. Well...
Oh. We lost Jack.
He was booted for misinformation.
I guess so. Sammy, what's your favorite?
I said
That's
Rolling
not
Thunder.
Black Stallion.
I said Rolling Thunder.
Oh, who didn't go then? Brian, did you go?
Me. It's a no-brainer. Volcano at King's Dominion.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a really good one.
There was a bunch. But I also got on Hypersonic when it was at King's Dominion, and obviously all the Jersey Shore ones. But Volcano, hands down, is the most missed.
You know what, Colin Petronani? We have ourselves a tie. Excuse me.
You don't have to use my full name, Ace. I prefer you don't do that.
So I'll give yours. That is Chiller and Volcano.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, you are done. Okay. Ace, this is a question from you. If you'd like to read it.
Are you ready for your interview? I don't know. It all depends on how long the interview is.
Should be about 30 minutes.
Say that again?
Should be about 45, 30 minutes.
No. Then we got to do that another time. I'm going to be too tired then.
No, I'm messing with you. It should be no longer than 10, 20 minutes.
Make it 10 minutes. Make it 10 minutes.
Well, it's going to be about the same length as Salim's interview.
Give me 10 minutes. Let's agree with that. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. I'll give you 10
So
minutes.
No more than 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Because I got to go.
Interview was in front of Unleashed at Great Adventure. Where is Ace's interview going to be filmed in front of?
Probably in the woods.
In the woods?
Or maybe in front of a green screen so we can put him in front of...
the 10-minute interview.
Yeah.
Why don't you do his interview at the movie premiere in December?
Oh, for the Ace, the story of Ace?
Yeah, AC.
Yeah.
Who's going to Power Hours this week?
Not me.
I don't think so. I might go for Halloween though.
Well, Dad, they canceled Power Hours for this week, so...
Oh, did they?
Really?
There's no Power Hours Thursday. They canceled.
Last time I went to Power Hours on the day I got back from my road trip that Thursday, before going home, it was atrocious.
I haven't gone once this year for Power Hours.
You didn't miss anything, gentlemen. It was like no dining options. Kingda Ka was closed. It was horrible.
Well, that's usually how Power Hours is. I'm not saying it's usually horrible. I'm just saying...
Well, it was nothing like last year. There was no car. No, there's some things open when we went. There was hardly anything open.
Oh.
So, yeah, I didn't miss anything.
The final question here to end out our night is a question for Jack. So, Jack, are you a partial owner of Shadow Stalker?
I don't think so because
I thought you were.
Well, am I? Well, but
I mean,
neither
technically.
of us. I don't own the land that it's on.
No, but you built like half the things on it, so
Then yeah, I say we would consider ourselves partial owners.
yeah. Technically, I mean, at the end of the day, my parents are the owners, so
Yeah.
I'm not
That's
even.
very
How
true.
it should be worded is that, like, if you two got a divorce, who gets the right side and who gets the left side? Split it down the middle.
Actually, I'll take the turn in the spike. You can have the drop in the off axis.
Sammy, do you think you're gonna have anyone test the coaster? Like, be the first person to be testing it?
What do you like? But after the test dummies?
Yeah, like after the test dummies, other than yourself and maybe me, who do you think you would have be the first person on it?
I kind of wanted to make it a surprise for most people. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think you should probably have people of varying dimensions test it just to be, safe.
Right.
Ace, you're pretty tall.
Make sure Ace doesn't chop his head off.
Well, yeah, Ace can be our clearance testing.
Yeah, we actually have to clearance test the new bottom station that we added today.
Yeah, you gotta hold your hands up the whole time, Ace, and test for us.
Put Colin first because he's the smallest, and then go by size order. And then
Well,
I'll be
actually,
Smallest.
me and Sammy did sit together in the car the other day.
You know,
and
you
ride
could
it.
sit with two people in the car.
Yeah. Colin and Ace could fit in.
Colin and Ace probably
I'd
could
rather
fit.
not.
No, I don't want to do that.
I'd
Not-
prefer just have the seat to myself.
I'd rather have the seat to myself. I don't want to be next to nobody.
We're definitely getting a Colin and Phil riding together shot.
Well, I'll have the Insta360 by then, so we can do like a drone shot almost with me holding the camera.
We got to be careful with the like
The clearance.
yeah the
Oh.
structures.
No, we'll
You'll
be fine.
Yeah, you'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
that all the questions though?
I think that's all the questions. So Ace, I just wanted to ask you one more time if you could reiterate like how your trip went to Carowinds.
My trip went great to Carowinds, and of course,
Specifically, how like who did you meet up with? Who'd you hang out with? Did you have fun?
obviously, I hung out with your dad. I hung out with BW, not BW. I mean Chris. I hung out with a friend, another friend from Charlotte. I met some new friends that were starting Tampa. It turned out to be a great trip.
Just Carowinds.
Unfortunately, I missed out on the film shoot on Over Georgia, but it didn't wasn't feasible for me because I had so many parks to do, like Legoland and Wild Adventure. So that's why I had to skip and go. So but hey, it all worked out. Your dad had his trip and plans, and I had mine. But the best part of it was going to Carowinds and doing those haunted houses. That was a lot of
Colin,
fun.
how many coasters did Phil film on?
He filmed Goliath, Daredevil Dive, Gwazi, Tigress, Kumba, Montu, Shikra, Cobra's Curse, and then a few more BGW. So actually, every coaster BGW. So like 20.
Did he get any POVs?
Oh, he got tons of POVs.
Cool.
Someone didn't
That's
watch the
what-
latest
every
Hollywood
coaster
Studios
film
video.
I'm talking about. So
Well, I can never because he's had the BG POVs.
this was his first, other than Great Adventure. This was his first time using the GoPro without me there.
Oh, okay.
So he was on his own, and he did well.
Good job, Phil.
So, Ace, out of those people, who would you revisit Carowinds with?
Out of the people, obviously, it wasn't the most pleasant experience having to divert from my plans because I'm an ultimate planner, and I definitely didn't like the fact that I had to leave Carowinds on the second day later. It made me kind of had regrets about going to Carowinds the second day after you had a perfect day on Friday, because of course your father's friend had me stay longer with the other credits, and I didn't appreciate that. I alluded to that in the conversation we had a couple of days ago, when we spoke on the phone. So of course I would go with your dad again. He was cool. We had the same
Would you
thing.
go with my father's friend again?
Say that again.
Would you go with my father's friend again that you were referring to?
Unless he behaved and wasn't like he was at Cedar Point. Sure, there's a possibility. You never say never. But you are good. You behave, and your dad behaves. As long as nobody gets sandy, of course. So, but I wasn't too happy. I see what you meant about complaining about BW. It's just unbelievable. But it kind of made me like more bold, and that's why I destroyed Iron Gwazi. So I took all my frustration and anger out on enjoying myself at the other parks and just going for it. Upping my credit count over 500 and all that, and just going for it. So
Do you have like an actual list to prove 500? Like, do you have a list of every coaster you've ridden?
I went on RCDB and looked at all the parks and all that I went to when I was at 200 and something like 2 years ago. So I have a great memory. I have photogenic memory.
No, I mean, do you have like an actual list?
No, I have it in my mind. I went on RCDB. RCDB is my best friend, so I was able to do it that way. I'm not like your father's friend, in which he lists everything on there.
Well, I do too. I have a full spreadsheet for it, and so does Dad.
And I respect that, but I'm like I say,
I
I,
mean, I just-
keep everything
Like
in my mind.
personally, I couldn't trust myself to count reliably
Well, I
on
can
just
do
mine.
that. Now I do. Now every time I do a coaster, I add 498, 499. That I do. So I have it in my own special file on my
Do
phone
you
now.
have it like written down in like an Instagram bio or anything anywhere?
No, I have it written down in my special part of my phone under my name.
Special part of your phone?
Yeah,
Which part?
that's private. I'll tell you in person. I'll show you in
Oh,
person.
Okay.
Yeah, it's private. Yeah.
When are we gonna see
But
you next?
you don't have an actual list of every coaster you've ridden. You just kind of spitball it.
I know what I've been on. Absolutely. Of all 82 parks that I've been to, including 3 mountain coasters in Massachusetts and Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, still got to get the ones in Branson and Pigeon Forge.
Brand? Oh, I thought you said Brandon. I'm sorry.
No, Branson, Missouri. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it looks like I ended the poll here in the chat. If you guys didn't see it, was what is your favorite former Six Flags Great Adventure roller coaster? And it looks like it's tied up pretty good. 32% said Rolling Thunder, 32% said Batman and Robin the Chiller, 23% said Great American Scream Machine, and then 11% said Other, and they said it in chat, maybe. I don't know. But with that being said, Ace, do you have like a closing monologue you want to give the chat?
No, you can actually give that to somebody else. I've said enough. How about you, Tom?
Oh, geez, I don't even know what I would say.
Well,
Well, Colin, thanks for having Brian and I talk about our experiences being write-offs. Brian, especially, I'm blown away by how much you remember, like, and in such vivid detail. I've been kind of having a conversation with one of my friends I used to work with, and now, like, I feel bad that I don't remember nearly as much about my time working there as you do about yours. So, like, hopefully some of my friends that I worked with can fill in some of those gaps, and I'll have more for another time in terms of stories of stuff that happened. But, like, yeah, kudos to you. And I actually didn't send any pictures of these, but I actually found some old season passes from my mom from 1983 and 84. That's season passes. An employee ID from 1986. That's pretty cool. So I said I have multiple generations of that to go off. So yeah, the park means so much to all of us, and having worked there is just another cool layer to that. So yeah, thanks for giving us a chance to talk about it.
Well, thank you guys, especially Brian. I mean, looking at your
Yeah.
set up here, I mean, you have so much set up here. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, no, this is my little bar area. You've been down here before. You and Phil have seen the stuff. It's like I said, it's a passion for mine, and having and being worked there and caring about it, and I enjoyed my time while working there, and just kept little mementos and things from there. And I really recommend anyone look into getting a job there if, at really any age, but I do say it is geared more toward that high school kind of like first job and meeting friends and everything. No, I had fun. I still have tons of stories, but, we're not going to be here all night. This is just to get a basic rundown of how your day kind of went. And be nice to the employees and just, go to the park and have fun, and, don't push on the air gates. That's the biggest thing I can say.
Yeah.
But unless anyone else has anything else to say, we'll take that as a no. That is going to do it for tonight's streams. You guys have any last minute plugs you want to do for social media and whatnot? Go right ahead.
I gave mine at the top of the show, so
I gave mine at the top. I built the thrill basically on everything. Go check it out.
I do have a YouTube channel. I have a few videos, nothing big, but Instagram, Coaster Patrick guy. I will say the person that said hi to me, Megan, her and her husband have a gaming channel. It's Gaming with the Family Jam. It's a pretty fun channel to look into, so if anyone's interested in that. But, that's it.
And unfortunately, you're catching us right at the end here, but I highly recommend checking out the past stream because it was very interesting.
Look, the last thing actually is, are they going to be any Thomas movies or Sammy movies or Brian movies or Colin movies? Like you said, the Ace movie.
I think we're all beat in the Ace movie. Like I finished. Yeah, we're all
scheduled to make appearances.
Yeah, no, I know me and Colin, we both finished like our voiceovers like last week at the studio.
Wow.
Disney already animated it. They just need the voice.
I knew Brian and Tom did it like 2 months ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, and then Ace, I think they're gonna have you come in very soon.
So I thought wouldn't it be a Hollywood Studios movie? Why you put Ace in the forefront? Why couldn't it be Colin?
They're more interesting to tell a story about. I mean, Sammy and I, we wrote the script for the movie. There's just so much to say about it.
We both co-wrote the script. It's really good.
Wow.
No, I think it could wind up being a critical success and financial, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really intriguing. Well, the best thing, a word of advice, you should have put Ace's coaster story or something like that.
Well, this is just the working poster. This isn't the
I'll
official
send Colin
one.
a couple other photos of people who are going to make appearances.
But that's going to do it for tonight's stream, guys. Like I said earlier, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the stream. That way it gets promoted a little more. Check out a lot of our other stuff coming very soon. Of course, as I mentioned, my dad was down in Florida, so there's some more new POVs coming out. A Goliath POV came out today. Have some other discussions planned to come out over time. Eventually, you'll see some Shadow Stalker coverage from Sammy's backyard. But that's pretty much it. You guys enjoyed the stream. Be sure to like. Ace, did you have something?
Yeah, Brian. The patches you have on the intriguing patches you have on your shirt, are those your favorite coasters or the top ones?
Um, some of them are my favorite, but others were just what the park had available.
Okay.
Generally, the ones on the shoulder are pretty favorite.
Oh, okay. Wow.
There's a lot.
Pretty cool. You got the best ones on there. Looks like I saw Fury on the back.
No, there's no Fury.
Oh, you got at least got on Gwazi. That's cool.
And no, I got a couple. I got after Dark Knights, I got a couple more patches to put on.
Wow. Those are cool characters in the movie.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Sammy, you showing your characters you sent me.
Oh yeah. I got those from the studio. Kevin sent
And then
them.
here's Jack. He's making a cameo appearance as
Jack
well.
it looks
Yeah,
exactly like wow.
Yeah, Jack is here. I got my picture. I'll send it to you, Colin, just so you can
Okay.
show it off.
We could just show it to your screen.
Oh, I could. Yeah, let me just do that. Let me pull it up here. This yes, this one's me.
Looks exactly like you.
Yeah, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, it looks like you.
Yeah, it does.
You know, Ace, this is a serious thing. Like, this is going to be a major motion
Yeah, this
picture.
one's Phil. Shit, my camera's.
Mm.
Yeah, and then I think this one's Bob. Bob came out really good.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, it is
Bob's
good.
great.
Yeah, I don't think he's done his voice recordings yet, but
You have Brian by any chance? You have Brian Bola?
yeah, I think I do actually. Wait 1 second. Let me just pull this up. I think it's yep, I got it right here. So, yeah, this one's Brian.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah.
That helpful hardware could I would use on screen off screen right now. The helpful hardware could be taken so many different ways. Like wow. You know exactly what I'm gonna do. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Oh, I also have James.
Oh, you do
Wow.
have James.
Yeah, Joe James. Got him.
James. Oh, you got the same Joker face. Wow, he looks like the Joker there.
Yeah,
Wow,
I think
looks like the Joker.
Ryan's playing the villain, right?
Wow. You got any of the great brothers?
No, Barbara Walters should be the villain.
Yeah, that'd be a great villain, Barbara Walters. That'd be great.
No, you're right, Colin. You did write that in.
I did.
He would be the villain, yeah, because he has like the face that the sourpuss face that he's always like angry or mad. He'd be perfect for it. He looks like he's like this. This is how he is all the time. He puts them on light. Said, let me get from the dark side. He's always like this. That's how he always is. I just had to show you. That's him. That is BW. All day long. All day long.
Yeah.
Y'all can get back, guys. I just had to show you that face. But if anybody was a great T-1000 besides Robert Patrick from Terminator 2, he would be perfect for it. He has that same face. The stone face. I've never saw the guy smile before. That one time. I don't know if you and your dad, they never see him smile at all.
Man, you're really going off on him. That's not cool.
No, I'm not going off him. I never see him smile. I'm telling the truth. And I'm not being facetious. It's just hilarious. I analyze everything. You know that. I'm analytical. I'm not being critical. I'm analytical. It's funny. I've never seen him smile. I hope he smiles when he goes to a party or something.
Well, I think we need to release some new merch with all the words Ace tends to say and just have it like right here with the words like hilarious and then the definition and like maybe his face somewhere around here. That'd be really good.
Let's just hope that death stare that he has doesn't become ubiquitous and which is everywhere. Let's just because you guys are happy and affable. Let's just hope that doesn't rub off on you guys. I would sure hate to see y'all like that. Oh my God! Thank God you're not like that, Colin. That's why you're so popular because you're a character.
You're a character.
You got a high character. You got a good character too. Pretty much a great character. Especially it's amazing. Everybody on here is pretty.
Yeah, he's definitely written into the movie because I see his character.
Oh, did you find his work?
Yeah, I found his artwork.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
wow,
that's definitely him.
Who's that?
That's Barbara.
That's Barbara Walters.
What? Oh my God, I'm about to die right now. Wow. Can you imagine him smiling? Wow, what a smile. Wow. Wow, to see him smiling. Like
He's
it's
definitely the
hard.
villain because they made it like a very creepy smile.
Wow. Is that a villainous smile?
It's definitely a villainous smile. I don't know. I feel
Wow.
like he's gonna like trick us to like being the villain. Like he's
Does he,
like
Colin, does he
yeah.
laugh at your jokes? Because you're a good joker. You and your dad are good jokers. Does he laugh at your jokes?
Yeah.
That's good. So at least he got a sense of humor. That's I'm being optimistic now.
It's very good to hear, Ace.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, I have a great sense of humor. You know that from A to Z.
All right, Ace. I think we're gonna end the stream off here because you kind of take
And
it a little long.
I'd like to say one thing. Thank you for. Thank you. One more thing. Thank you for pretty much making it interesting about the Great Busch Gardens Tampa. It was really a lot of fun that we both have been successful at the park. So
you mean that I have the record, right?
let's give love to the park that I have the record for 2 days or 39 days. Nobody could have. Probably somebody else has it, but between us, the crew, I have it for 2 days, and then for one trip.
And I have it for one, my friend.
Yeah, I have it too. I have one. I have a couple of records. Yeah, I have 26 in one day.
The special record.
I think Colin takes it here.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
Ace, I'm just going to mute you for a second so I can get a word in. So, I mean, when you actually break it down, right, if I rode Iron Gwazi from 10:30 a.m. one morning until before 10 a.m. the next morning and got 34 rides, that would mean in the course of 24 concurrent hours, I got 34 rides on Iron Gwazi, of which Ace simply does not have. He didn't get 34 rides within 24 hours.
I got 39 rides.
You have the record.
We're talking about the trip. I got 39 rides. We're not talking about the day of 12 hours.
So then you don't have the record.
I do have
more
the record.
impressive though if you do it.
I have
in
the
a
record for the
quicker
trip.
span.
I have it for the trip. No matter what you say or anybody else says, I have it for the trip. That's what God says. I have it for the trip. I have 39 for the trip.
Either way, this shows you.
I thought you were saying you had 39 for 24 hours. So then,
I'm talking about
in
my
that
Busch
case, I do have the record.
Either way, you both have no lives. It doesn't matter.
Well, you know what we have. We know what. Let me just put it this way: we all coaster babies. That's what it all comes down to. At the end of the day, everybody's maniacal. Everybody loves their coasters, and that's a perfect epitome of what it's all about.
No, at the end of the day, Colin had no life for one day, and you had no life.
It don't matter. Colin, be happy. I'm happy for your record. Be happy for my record. Let's just all get along and be happy. Colin, both are impressive. I got 39, you got 34. Whether you got 49 or 50, even if you have 60, I'm happy. We all got the ride. As long as you got the ride multiple times, that's what counts. If Brian, I won't say your last name. If Brian almost did, I'm so good with saying first name and last name. If Brian was to go out there and get 100, I'll be happy for him too. It's not a matter who has the most coasters. I just had to do it because I love Iron Gwazi. It's my number one. It's our number one coaster, right, Brian?
Oh, why are you bringing me in? I didn't attack you.
Is it one of your favorite coasters? Your number one?
What?
Is Iron Gwazi number one for you too?
It's close, but X2 is still number one.
X2.
What's your favorite coaster?
X2.
Your number one. I respect that. X2 is definitely my top 10.
Ace, it's getting close to 10:30. Bottom line is, though, you brought records into the equation. I do have the record, but we both had a great time regardless. Guys, thank you for joining this stream. I hope you all had a great time. I know it was very entertaining, but that is going to do it for tonight. Again, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next stream.
So interesting.
Bye, all.
Take the record 39. Good night, everyone. Goodbye.